Hello everyone, welcome to What If Quirkless Deku Had Control Over Holy and Demonic Grimoire Part 1. Before we start, please go support Deistrerk for writing that awesome fanfic. This is the translated version I made. There will be some mistake in character's gender, but of course Deku is a male. Clarifications. Izuku will be a little OP, not that much but a little. It will be a harem. Izuku will be in Class B. Lida, Bakugo, Kaminari and Mineta will be really irritating and annoying. Melissa will be in UA and will have her own quirk. He won't be so shy. He will have two grimoires, the ones on the cover with the blue one he will be able to give improvements to other people, and with the black one he will give curses. It has nothing to do with Black Clover. Humiliating Bakugo. Chapter 1 My Quirk. In a world where 80% of the population awakens powers at the age of 4 and being a hero went from being fiction to being a profession, we can see a 4-year-old green-haired boy in his room doing his homework. Izuku, okay, I'm done. I'll go play with Kachin. But when he got up, his head collided with a book that was levitating. Izuku's POV. I was getting up to leave when my head hit a book. Izuku, Mom? I turn to look around, but I don't see my mom anywhere. Then I can see the book descend until it's in front of me. I had never seen him in the house. Izuku, I better go ask my mom this. Could it be my quirk? End of POV. Izuku lowered his sclere in a hurry, screaming. Izuku, Mom. Inko was cooking when she heard her son's screams. In her rush, she didn't realize that she had made a small cut on her finger. Inko, what happened, Izuku? When Inko saw her son, she was surprised to see her son holding on to a blue book that she had never seen before. Inko, Izuku, where did you get that book? Izuku, Mom, this book just floated out of nowhere when I was doing my homework. Could it be my quirk? The boy said with stars in his eyes as he was waiting for his quirk to awaken, since all his friends had one, even Bakugo already had a quirk. Inko, I don't know, son. Tomorrow we will go to the doctor, we will see. Izuku, Mom, you're bleeding. Izuku saw a cut on his mother's finger from which a small amount of blood was flowing. Inko, don't worry, I'm going to put a bandage on it. Izuku, I'll bring it. But at that moment the book began to levitate and shine, opening and turning pages. Izuku, what's wrong? The book stopped on a page where there was some writing standing in front of Izuku. Izuku, healing spell? Izuku began to mentally read what the sheet said. The moment Izuku finished reading, a light came out of the sheets and headed towards Inko, healing her wound as well as her fatigue, something that only she noticed. Inko, Izuku, can you lend me that book? Inko wanted to review the book. Izuku, okay. Inko took the book but couldn't understand anything that was written. Inko, Izuku, how can you read it? Izuku, I don't know, but I understand what the book says. Before continuing with the conversation, the book was closed, and no matter how hard Inko tried, she couldn't open it, and then the book began to levitate and disappear into a light that entered Izuku. Izuku, Mom, what was that? Inko, I think it's your quirk. Tomorrow we will go to the doctor. Izuku, okay, laughing face. Time skip. We can see two green-haired boys waiting for the results of Izuku's quirk. Izuku, Mom, do you think my quirk will be very powerful and do other things besides healing? Inko, we'll know in a few moments. At that moment a door opens, revealing the doctor with some papers. Doctor, Mrs. Midoriya? Inko, yes, doctor, you already know what my son's quirk consists of. Doctor, well, your son's quirk is a bit strange, since as far as we know he has a series of abilities that we don't know what they all are, since according to your son there are words that he doesn't understand. Izuku, doctor, can I be a hero? Doctor, well, with the skills you showed, more than a hero, I would say a helper, since your gift allows, as far as we know, to increase the strength, speed, and resistance of other people at the same time. It also allows you to heal. I would say that you would be more of a support. Izuku, but I want to be a hero. Doctor, I know, kid, but your skills are to be supports or helpers but not heroes, because... Izuku had already stopped listening. He was simply thinking about what the doctor said. You would only serve as support. Inko, Thank you, doctor, we are leaving. Taking his son by the hand, he left the office. Izuku, Mom, I can be a hero. Inko, yes they are, and not just a support, you can be a real hero, just trust in yourself. Izuku, yes Mom, I will be the best hero of all time. Chapter 2, Training, Meeting a Rabbit and a Dragon. It's been 12 years since Izuku went to the doctor's office, and he dedicated himself to training. The first 5 years, he dedicated them to training his gift. He discovered that the more beings he gave improvements to, the more tired he got, so he started practicing with ants. Since he tried to give improvements to several ants at the same time, also due to a mishap he discovered that he had a second book, well he began to call them grimoires. The second book seemed more offensive since he threw curses. These could be very dangerous. He decided to train them with those who were going to bully him. Bakugo, upon finding out what his gift was, began to mock him that he was only going to be an assistant or support, and that he would always be in someone's shadow. Since then Izuku walked away from Bakugo. The curses he threw consisted of blindness, dizziness, immobilization, quirk weakening, physical fatigue, mental fatigue. Not to mention that the book itself was the same as another one, only this one was a dark color. 5 more years. He began to train his body since he did not want to depend too much on his grimoires, performing an infernal routine at the same time that he summoned his grimoires to increase the time he has them outside. Since the mere fact of being outside of Izuku wore him out, he performed infernal routines. Although every time he got hurt he could heal himself, discovering that he can improve his spells if he uses them continuously with his normal grimoire. He discovered 5 more spells that were repair of objects, quirk enhancement, mental reinforcement, adaptation of the environment, Berserker. The latter is used as a last resort, since although it increases all the capabilities of a person, it leaves Izuku and the one who received it in an incredibly tired state, and with muscle pain. His appearance at this moment was like this. Last 2 years, Izuku could already activate his 2 grimoires at the same time, casting both enhancements and curses at the same time, and the wear and tear was less since he had gotten used to it. He also practiced different combat techniques so that he could defend himself. At this point, no one messed with him at school anymore. Present. We found ourselves in a classroom where a teacher came in with a sheet of paper. Teacher, well, on this sheet you will write what you would like to be when you grow up. But throwing the sheets in the air to hell, everyone wants to be a hero, right? At that everyone activated their quirks, celebrating. Professor, but you know it's wrong to use your quirks in public. Upon saying those words everyone calmed down, and then the bomb with legs spoke. Bakugo, don't compare me to this pile of useless extras. I'll be the #1 hero and I'll be one of the richest people in the world. At that point everyone starts booing him, and the teacher speaks. Teacher, Bakugo, you are going to apply for the UA. Those words made the whole room fall silent, and murmurs began to be heard saying, UA is the best heroic institution. Or, the acceptance rate is very low. Among other things that only inflated Bakugo's pride. Professor, true, Midorilla is also going to go to the UA. Those words caused more murmurs to be heard but made Bakugo angry. Bakugo, DKKKUU, how to give a useless support be in the UA? You are only a support and a step for me to reach the top. Bakugo was heading to Izuku's folder, making explosions with his hands, but then Izuku quickly took out his grimoire of curses, making him dizzy and blind, causing Bakugo to fall to the floor. Izuku, Bakugo, wherever I go, you don't care and stop trying to intimidate me. We're no longer 6 years old for you to scare me. That's when the bell rings. Izuku, okay, I'm leaving now. The effects will wear off in 5 minutes. Have fun. He said, leaving the room, leaving Bakugo on the floor shouting insults. Izuku, well, I'll go for a walk for a while before returning home. He said to start walking aimlessly when suddenly he heard as if some glass was breaking on impact, alerting him and running in that direction in case someone needed help. Arriving, he finds 2 top heroines known as Mirko and Ryuko somewhat hurt, facing a villain. Mirko, damn, I'll leave you boneless, you bastard. Throwing herself against the villain just like Ryuko in her human form, since she couldn't convert because it would destroy the buildings. which is why she was very hurt. Villain, you already know that my gift allows me to let every attack slip off my body. You will not be able to defeat me. At that moment with his knife he made a cut on Mirko's leg and Ryuko's arm. Villain, licking lips, I wonder what it would be like to have sex with two heroines. Approaching them, who were already tired, but without warning, the villain fell to the ground, and when he tried to get up, he fell. Villain, what the buck is going on? Izuku, I just gave you 2 curses that will prevent you from getting up. Mirko, who are you? He said, getting up with difficulty and getting into a combat stance. Izuku, calm down, I was just walking when I heard a noise, and when I came to check I found you and Ryuko injured and I decided to intervene. Mirko, first tell me who you are. Izuku, I am Izuku Hayashi Midorilla and I live 3 blocks in that direction. He said, pointing to a lot of apartments. Mirko, okay, you can call a patrol to take this villain away. I'll take Ryuko to the hospital. Izuku, let me help you with your wounds. Mirko, and what are you going to be? He said, still in a fighting stance, as he still distrusted Izuku. Izuku, this. He said so that a second grimoire came out later. And it opened when it stopped on a leaf. Ryuko, what is that book? Izuku, first it's a grimoire and second it will help you heal. When I finish saying that I activate the healing spell on the 2 heroines, starting to heal them. Ryuko/Mirko, amazing. They said when they realized that their wounds and the fatigue of the persecution were fading away. Izuku, ready. He said to leave them as new, but then he blushed because he had just realized that the heroines' costumes were torn in some compromising parts. Upon realizing this, they covered themselves and glared at the green-haired man who could only look away. Izuku, say sorry, I didn't mean to, let me help you. Mirko/Ryuko, how do you bring a jacket or something to cover us? Izuku, no, but I can do this. The book then opened and activated the object repair function, starting to fix Ryuko and Mirko's heroine costumes. The 2 were surprised by what the boy could do, and when he finished they asked him. Mirko, what are those books? Izuku, they are grimoires and I also have 2. He said, taking out his 2 grimoires. Izuku, one allows me to increase the strength, endurance, and other characteristics of other people, and the other allows me to cast curses like the ones I threw at that villain. He said, pointing at the villain who was trying to stand up and falling in the attempt. Ryuko, what curses did you throw at him? Izuku, I gave him blindness and dizziness. Ryuko, and how soon will it happen? Izuku, well, I threw it at him for at least an hour. Mirko, it's a great quirk, boy, you will be a great hero. Izuku, thank you. Mirko, well then let's leave this trash in jail and go drink. He said happily. Izuku, excuse me, but I'm still a minor. Mirko looked at the boy strangely as his appearance seemed like that of someone already an adult. Mirko, how old are you? Izuku, well, I'm 16 years old. Mirko/Ryuko, what? Chapter 3, Admission to the UA. A year passed since the incident with the villain, in which after the surprise the heroines and Izuku exchanged numbers so that later they had some outings between the 3 as thanks for saving them and to have fun, in which Izuku asked his now friends what it was like to be a hero, receiving the same answers. Tired, a lot of paperwork, the only exciting thing is kicking villains and comments like that, so he left that topic aside. Each one enjoyed the company of the other, and even sometimes roomy Mirko helped Izuku train. Of course, he had to put his resistance and strength enhancement on him so that he would not end up with enough broken bones because of Rumi's kicks, and so time passed. Until the entrance exam, in which the trio of friends were heading to the UA, giving luck to Izuku. Rumi, with our training you will be able to pass that rat's test without any problems. Ryuko, don't worry about the theory, you're very smart. Izuku, thanks girls. He said, giving her a smile, to which the 2 women looked away to hide their blush, since in the period of a year they had acquired certain feelings for the green-haired man, and when they discovered it, they had a heated discussion between them, but in the end they agreed to share Izuku, something that he did not know. That's how he was dressed. Izuku, okay girls, I'm leaving. The UA was still 5 blocks away from their location, but it would be strange to see a candidate arrive with 2 professional heroines. They knew it, so they just agreed and said goodbye to begin their work. As heroes, it should be noted that they were in civilian clothes and with face masks, and Rumi with a hat. Izuku left, arriving at the UA being impressed by the structure of the institute. He continued walking until he saw a blue-eyed blonde with glasses who was about to fall, so he held her stomach to avoid it. The girl, when she saw Izuku, could not help but blush. "Izuku, I'm sorry for touching you out of nowhere, but it would be bad luck if you fell at the beginning of the day. My name is Izuku, it's a pleasure." Nice to meet you, my name is Melissa Shield." "Izuku, nice to meet you, Melissa, let's go and so we don't arrive late." "Melissa, yes, let's go." Izuku took the written exam, which he had no problem with since he had help from Ryuko in the academic area. After finishing, they were taken to a room in which the hero Present Mike came out. "Present Mike, everyone say YHHHH. Izuku, YHHHH. Present Mike, that's now my favorite candidate, and he has 1 more point." After that, Present Mike started explaining the robots and the points until a blue-haired guy interrupted him. "Lida, instructor in the UA brochure, there is another robot. If this is a printing error, that would be very embarrassing for the prestigious academy like the UA, and it would not be different from the lower class schools." This made quite a few people uncomfortable and annoyed. "Lida, and you pointing at Izuku think this is a joke? You're surely a lower class person who doesn't know how important this profession is and is only here to disrespect this prestigious academy." "Izuku, you're done. Well, you say that I disrespect the academy, but I'm not the one who interrupted a teacher in the middle of an explanation, nor am I the one who denigrates others because of their social class. You better sit down, shut up and listen, because I see that they didn't teach you that in your high-class school." Lida just snorted and sat down angrily. "Present Mike, thanks for shutting that guy up. Well, what I was saying is that only the 0-point robot is left, so there is no need to destroy it. If you see it, just run away or see what they do. Well, each one go to their respective blocks." Izuku was like this in his block. After a while, Present Mike's voice is heard. "Present Mike, get ready." With that said, the doors began to open as Izuku took out his grimoire of improvements and increased his own speed, shooting out towards the robberies before anyone could complain. "Present Mike, they're waiting for an invitation in a fight. There's no countdown and that kid knows it." With that said, everyone started running but saw that some robots were already destroyed. And with Izuku, he had improved his strength and began to destroy robots everywhere, only finding them crushed, and if he found people in trouble he helped them. "Izuku, I think it's enough to pass, but let's get some more points just in case." With that, he went back to destroying more robots. While in a room, "Nizu, we have a good harvest this year, what do you think?" "Cementos, I'm interested in the boy who throws explosions." He said so that everyone could see a monitor where Bakugo appeared exploding everything without caring if there were more people or hurting others. "Nizu, yes, although we would have to do something about his attitude. What do you say about heroine Ryukyu and Mirko?" It must be said that no one was surprised that Ryukyu was there since she had been there a few times. But what was surprising was that Mirko was in this place since she was not interested in anything that had to do with teaching. "Ryukyu, there are good gifts for both rescue and attack." That's what he said, but he hadn't looked much at the applicants since his concentration was taken by a green-haired man who was destroying robots just like Mirko, who, seeing a green-haired man savagely destroying robots, smiled. Everyone turned to see what caught their attention, and saw a green-haired man destroying robots with a kind of book floating around him. "Aizawa, what is that book?" "Nizu, it says here that it is part of his quirk, which is called grimoires," he said, reading a sheet of paper. "Cements, and what is their gift?" "Nizu, it says here that he can give improvements to himself and others, whether it be resistance, strength, or others." These words surprised everyone except 2 heroines who already knew what it was. "Aizawa, seeing his fighting style, I would say that he copied your movements, Mirko." "Mirko, shut up, crazy eyes. If someone copies my movements, it must be someone strong, since no weakling could copy my movements," he said, and then continued watching Izuku kick a robot to pieces. "Nizu, well, let's see what the applicants can do." There was a button that said danger, and Nizu pressed it, causing a small tremor. With Izuku. A green-haired boy could be seen lying on top of a building resting since he had obtained enough points to enter the academy, when suddenly everything begins to shake. Izuku, what happened? Standing up, he could see a huge robot and people escaping from it. Izuku, wow, the 0 points are bigger than what they showed us on the screen. She was about to leave when she heard a cry for help, turning her gaze to see an orange-haired girl tangled in some cables that prevented her from moving and the 0 points approaching the girl. Izuku, I have to help her, he said to himself, then ran to the address arriving with the girl. Izuku, calm down, don't move so I can help you untangle yourself, he said and then began to untangle the cables while the 0 points approached. When he finished untangling he saw that the girl's ankle was purple so he picked her up and began to run with her in his arms while he healed her with the help of his grimoire. It must be said that the girl was blushing as much as she could without being able to articulate a word. In the surveillance room, Mirko and Ryukyu could be seen uncomfortable by how Izuku carried the girl, but they calmed down thinking that it was them. Nizu, he assessed the situation, calmed the affected person, proceeded correctly. It seems as if it were not the first time he has done this. Cementos, well, it seems that the evaluation is about to end, he said looking at the timer. With Izuku. Izuku was running from a giant robot with a girl in his arms. Izuku, damn, what time does this test end? Just as the robot began to stretch its arm to catch it, the horn sounded, stopping the robot and indicating the end of the test. Izuku, thank goodness. Izuku looked back at the girl who was fainted and still had a blush on her face. Izuku took her to the stretchers, laying her down and leaving that place to go home, tell his mother everything and rest. Chapter 4 Room 1B. The day after the tests we see a green-haired boy getting out of bed because of his mother's scream. Izuku. Izuku, what happened, Mom? He said as he jumped out of bed and went to his mom. This envelope just arrived from Yue. Giving his son the envelope, which he opened in his hands to reveal a device in which a hologram of a dog, bear, mouse, appeared. It is reproduced in that. Nizu, I know you're wondering, am I a dog? Bear? Mouse? I am the director. Congratulations, young man. You successfully passed the written test with 98 points and in practice you got 168 points from the robots. More than enough to pass, but there was an evaluation that consisted of rescue points and you, for supporting the other candidates and saving an applicant from 0 points, were awarded 54 additional points which added to your other tests give a total of 320 points, more than enough. You will enter Classroom 1B of the heroic course Izuku Midoriya. Welcome to your Hero Academy. Izuku could no longer contain his excitement until he was brought back to reality by a hug from his mother. I knew my baby could do it. You're finally closer to achieving your dream and becoming a great hero. Izuku, thank you, Mom, for supporting me all these years, he said, reciprocating the hug. After everything calmed down, and her mom left to make breakfast and promised katsudon for dinner, Izuku went to his room and through the group chat he had with Rumi and Ryuko he wrote. Chat. Izuku, girls, I passed the exam with 320 points. I entered UA. Rumi, it was obvious that you were going to pass my training, and if you hadn't passed I was going to use you as a punching bag. Ryuko, congratulations, Izuku, and what Rumi meant was that she is also happy that you entered. Izuku, I see that. Rumi, today we went out to celebrate. Ryuko, sounds good to me. Izuku, where are we going to go? Rumi, if we come to my house to watch movies and Izuku cooks us something. Izuku was nervous. He had never been to a girl's house, and if we consider that it is the house of a top heroine, it makes him more nervous. Ryuko, it's fine with me. What do you think, Izuku? Izuku, with all the courage gathered, wrote. Izuku, no problem, girls, beaming face with smiling eyes. Time skip. Izuku was getting ready to go out dressed like this. Take off the crown. After an afternoon of movies where Ryuko and Rumi were glued to Izuku, who made him blush, he returned home having dinner with katsudon and talking with his mother about what the UA will be like. Izuku was in his room getting ready to sleep. Izuku, how will my new companions be? Time skip. A week passed after a movie afternoon with Rumi and Ryuko, and Izuku was ready to go to UA while his mom was asking, Inko, you carry your handkerchief, your pencil, the eraser. Izuku, yes, Mom will be back in the afternoon, don't be alarmed. Inko, take care of yourself, don't talk to strangers and don't accept sweets from strangers. Izuku, Mom, I know that, I'm not a child. After his mother made sure he had everything, Izuku left his house heading to UA. Izuku, I hope this day is amazing. Already at UA, Izuku was looking for his classroom. Izuku 1B, here it is. He said to open the door and find an orange-haired girl with horns and a blonde in the living room. Then the blonde approaches him and says, Good morning, I am Nito Momona, the strongest student in the classroom. Izuku, hello, I'm Izuku Midorilla, I hope we get along well. The conversation attracted the attention of the two women who approached when the orange-haired girl recognized him. You are the one who saved me from 0 points. Izuku, and you are? Kendo, I am Itsuka Kendo. Izuku, a pleasure, and you? Pony, hello, my name is Pony Tsunatori. Izuku, hello, nice to meet you, hello, nice to meet you. Itsuka, you can speak fluent English. Izuku, take a course. Nito, and what are your quirks? Itsuka, mine allows me to enlarge my hands. I'm good at hand-to-hand combat. Pony, my quirk allows you to throw horns. Pony spoke difficulty. Izuku, mine allows me to support other people or myself by giving an increase in both physical and mental abilities. I can also enhance other people's quirks. Izuku didn't want to talk about his curse book. Itsuka, incredible, you have a great gift. Pony, yes. Nito, well, it's time to talk about my great quirk that allows me to copy the quirk of the person I touched. Izuku, incredible, with that quirk you would be very versatile on the battlefield, although you would be at a disadvantage if you found yourself alone. At that, Izuku thought of something. Izuku, Nito, can you copy my quirk? Nito, no problem. With that said, Nito proceeded to touch Izuku. Nito, I don't feel any change. How do you activate your quirk? Izuku, just think about taking a book out of you. With that said, Izuku proceeded to take out a book that came out of his chest. Everyone was surprised as the book, according to the women, was very cute, and Momona kept trying to take out the book. Nito, I can't, how strange, it's the first time this has happened to me. I can even copy the mutation type ones. Izuku, maybe. Izuku was about to continue talking when the door opened, revealing a group of students, and they left the topic for another time. When all the students were in the classroom and introducing themselves to each other, the hero Blad King enters. Blad King, good morning, please each one in order come to the front and introduce yourselves to the others. So each one went forward and introduced himself. Finishing the presentations, Blad King gave them some uniforms. After changing, Blad King took them to the UA courtyard where they met Class 1A practicing. Everything was going to be normal, but an explosion was heard. Bakugo, Deku, how dare a simple support like you enter the UA? He said as he pulled out explosions from his hands as he headed towards Izuku quickly. Aizawa was about to throw his bandages but saw how Izuku threw an upward kick, lifting Bakugo up, and that he jumped, grabbing Bakugo by the nape of the neck and throwing him against the ground. With his hands still on his head, Izuku said, Izuku, Bakugo, you behave better. We're not in school for you to think you're the best. Lower your pride before I beat you down. Bakugo, damn Deku, I'll kill you. Before he finished speaking, Izuku lifted Bakugo's head and slammed it back into the floor. Izuku, I already told you, Bakugo, we're not in elementary school for you to think you're the best. Finishing those words, he returned to his class, who looked at him surprised. Bakugo quickly stood up and raged, ready to attack him from behind, when some bandages grabbed him from behind, rolling him up. Bakugo, what the buck? Aizawa, Bakugo, stay still if you don't want to get expelled on your first day. Bakugo, TSK. Blad King, okay guys, we'll do some exercises with Class 1A, so get ready. 1B, hi. Chapter 5. I'm no longer a Deku. After Aizawa's warning and notifying them of the expulsion from the last place, everyone was doing the corresponding exercises in the races. Izuku competed against Lida, narrowly defeating him without using his grimoire since Lida was confident. Bakugo was still angry and tried to attack him one more time but was stopped by Aizawa. It's time to make the throws. Aizawa. Well, first Izuku, who was the one who came in first place in the entrance exam. When he said those words, everyone was surprised. Izuku, without paying much attention, stepped forward, taking out his grimoire. Everyone was surprised to see the grimoire except those who already knew it. Aizawa. So you didn't use your maximum in the other tests? Aizawa said it just to get his students' attention since he knew about his grimoire from the entrance test. Lida. There's no way that second in command could have defeated me without using his gift. Izuku. I definitely couldn't match you in speed without using my quirk. Lida just smiled arrogantly, and when she was about to say that Izuku had cheated, but Izuku spoke up. Izuku. But he was confident in what ended up as his defeat. Izuku activated his strength enhancement and stamina enhancement by throwing the ball. Blad King, 805 meters. This number amazed everyone. Then they continued with the others, and when they finished, everyone was returning to their classrooms. Bakugo was angry since he had ended up under Izuku. Izuku, that guy will never change. Nito, did you really study with him? He is very annoying and arrogant. Izuku, putting up with him since he was 4 makes you get used to it, especially when he was bullying me. Always, I took pity on you. Tetsu, bullying is not for men. After that they had normal classes. As the day ended, Izuku was getting his things ready to leave with Nito, Always, Kendo, Pony, and Tetsu since they got along well. Tetsu Izuku bro. Izuku, what happened Tetsu? Tetsu, you said you can also enhance gifts, right? At that everyone paid attention to Izuku. Izuku, well, when you activate it the person gets an improved version of their gift. Saying that, everyone became curious. Tetsu, could you prove it? Izuku, okay, you can transform your arm into metal. With that said, Tetsu transformed from his hand to his elbow into metal so that Izuku could take out his grimoire and activate the quirk enhancement. The metal arm began to darken, almost becoming black in color, and some kind of spikes came out of its arm. Kendo, incredible. Pony, fantastic. Nito, how do you feel? Tetsu, my arm feels lighter but I don't know how strong it is now, let's try it outside. Already in a park we see the boys in front of a large rock. Izuku, ready Tetsu, hit as hard as you can. Tetsu, okay Izuku bro. Tetsu took a run and headed at full speed towards the rock, and at the moment of impact. Crack. Everyone watched as the stone began to crack and crumble. Tetsu, incredible, with my normal arm I would have only cracked it a little, but with this arm I didn't even feel the blow too much. Everyone was surprised by Tetsu's improvement. They were going to ask if he could improve their quirks to see what they were like, but Izuku speaks. Izuku, before you asked me if I can improve your quirks, let's leave it for another day, it's a little late now. Everyone understood that it was starting to get dark, and it could be dangerous. Tetsu, Izuku bro, how long will the improvement last? Izuku, you should have about 15 to 20 minutes left, after which you will return to normal. Tetsu, okay. After that, everyone said goodbye to go home. The next day, we can see the group of friends commenting on Tetsu's improvement, and talking about how theirs could be. Suddenly their teacher enters. Blad King, good morning students, today we will have combat training with Class 1A. When he said that, some students became excited, others became tense at their tutor's words. Blad King, but first they will have to dress for the occasion. That price is not a button, making some suitcases appear with their hero costumes. Blad King, go change in the locker room if I'm not mistaken. Class 1A will also be there. Everyone excitedly went to change to try on their hero costumes, and in the locker room they met up with Class 1A. Lida, what are some second-rate people doing here? He said with displeasure in his words. Izuku, we came to change, Better not talk, nobody in this place wants to hear you complain. Lida was angry because according to him a lower-class person disrespected him, but an explosion is heard. Bakugo, Deku. Izuku, Bakugo, shut up if you don't want to end up with your face on the wall. We just came to change for combat training, so if you have a problem let's fix it on the field. Bakugo, well damn Deku, you'll see that you're just trash compared to me. Bakugo was sure that he would beat him since no one knew, but he obtained the power of one for all a week before since All Might spoke to him and offered the power due to his quirks, since he was sure that with a powerful quirk he would be able to beat AFO forever. So without thinking about his attitude or anything else he offered one for all to Bakugo, making Bakugo's pride grow. He was late to class, he disrespected the teachers, and so insincere according to him he could do whatever he wanted since he had the greatest power of all. Bakugo, you'll see, damn Deku, I'll make you beg me for mercy, he said in a whisper. Everyone was changing when a dwarf with purple balls on his head spoke. Mineta, look what I found, he said, pointing to a hole in the wall. Mineta, a gift from our senpais, imagine the whole buffet of girls on the other side, he said, drooling, earning a look of contempt from most of the men. Mineta, imagine Hagaku's floating panties, Melissa's but Momo's breasts. Author, I don't know how others do this, I feel like shit writing this. He was going to continue but someone grabbed him by the head. Mineta, what do you want, damn it, if you want to see, wait your turn. The person who was lifting Mineta was Izuku, who, upon hearing Mineta's words, spoke. Izuku, it makes me sick that there are people like you and I feel sorry for the girls in your class. Listen to me while you bucking shorty, a woman must be respected. I know very well that all women are beautiful and gorgeous, but there is a limit that cannot be crossed. Mineta, and what will you do, damn it? Women only serve to satisfy a man. I really feel really good this writing. Izuku, I'm going to do this, he said to slam Mineta face first into the ground. Izuku, learn to respect a bucking midget woman, always point out that hole. Always high. Most had respect for Izuku for his words and also thought it was best to avoid making him angry. While on the other side the women felt relieved that someone was defending them and blushed because of the beautiful thing. Momo, we thanked him later, by the way, who was he? Kendo, that was Izuku. Melissa, I met Izuku at the entrance exam. They continued talking like this until everyone came out changed. Those from 1B were surprised to find themselves with All Might. Take away Izuku. All Might, well, young people, today we will have some tournament-type confrontations where we will see your control over your quirks. Actually, All Might just wanted Bakugo to highlight just why he was his successor. All Might, well, everyone is here. At that, Kendo interrupts him. Kendo, excuse me, but Izuku is missing. Just then you hear some footsteps approaching. Izuku, I'm here. Everyone turned around and some women blushed because according to them Izuku looked good. Izuku, well, a little formal and it's perfect comfortable. All Might, well, with the young man here let's start the battles. So they began to fight one by one. They disqualified fighters. Bakugo spent more time being scolded by Aizawa, but All Might always defended him with comments like, they are young, they still don't control themselves, it's the youthful spirit. When Todoroki fought against Bakugo lost because the OFA boosted Bakugo's explosions in a certain way. In the end only Izuku was left against Bakugo, in which Bakugo was smiling psychopathically at Izuku yelling, Bakugo, Deku, today I will return yesterday's humiliation to you, I will make you beg for mercy, ha ha ha. When they were ready, Aizawa gave the start signal. Bakugo lunged at Izuku trying to give him an explosion in the chest, which Izuku easily dodged by standing to his right and punching him in the face. Bakugo immediately recovered and started throwing explosions like crazy at Izuku, causing the dust to rise. When he finished you could see Bakugo tired but with a smile. Bakugo, now you damn trash will be eliminated, said to grab a hold of his arms. Bakugo, if this suit is what I asked for, it will store my sweat and be able to give you a surprise damn support. All Might, young man, stop. All Might wasn't worried about Izuku, but if Bakugo killed him not even he could fully defend him for murder. All Might, young man, can kill Midorilla. Bakugo, No one will care about a simple stand. He said to release the safety, releasing a large explosion, raising more dust. Bakugo, that's what happens to those losers who think they're better than me, ha ha ha. What happened, Deku? You're nothing anymore. Bakugo was laughing while everyone was shocked. Momo, that guy is crazy. Kendo, how can they accept someone like that? Melissa, that guy needs to go to a mental hospital. And more comments, which Bakugo heard and pointed at the girls with his other glove, scaring them. Aizawa and Blad King were on the other side of the field and could not see anything that was happening because of the dust raised. Bakugo, look, damn hitches, shut up if you don't want to end up like that useless Deku, you're just hitches that I'll buck later. But suddenly someone grabs his glove and, applying force, destroys it. Izuku, I thought Bakugo said it. Izuku is seen coming out with the top of his suit destroyed with wounds that were closing. Bakugo tried to give an explosion, but Izuku grabbed him by the wrist, breaking it, making Bakugo let out a scream. Bakugo, aha, damn, Deku shiny. Bakugo tried to give him another explosion with his other arm, but Izuku dodged it, breaking his other wrist. Bakugo screamed again. The teachers, when they arrived, saw the scene. All Might was going to protest to defend his successor, but Aizawa spoke to him. Aizawa, don't even think about intervening, because if not, you will take responsibility for the injuries that Bakugo caused to the other students. As you say, this battle demonstrates the youthful spirit. All Might gave Aizawa a dirty look, but he was right. If he intervened, everyone would see him as a hypocrite, and according to him, he has an image to maintain. With Midorilla and Bakugo. Bakugo, damn Deku. I didn't finish speaking as Izuku punched him in the stomach and started using him as a punching bag, and then said, Izuku, the Deku is you, damn it, I didn't even have to use the other grimoire on you, and I told you before, right? Izuku increased his strength and endurance. Preparing a strong blow, he said, Izuku, I'm not a Deku anymore. Throwing a punch that sent Bakugo crashing against the wall, making him faint. Blad King, the winner is Izuku, he said, cheering up everyone in room 1B, well, those who were there, since some ended up in the infirmary because of Bakugo. Chapter 6, Presidency and USJ 1. Izuku was resting. Yesterday, after the tremendous beating he gave Bakugo, the classes went by normally. Of course, he thought that Bakugo had already calmed down, but at the exit he met him. When Bakugo saw Izuku, he began to insult him, saying that he should take care because he will return the humiliation and other threats. Izuku, but what a day! Although I was finally able to return everything that Bakugo has done to me, I hope that on the way out to the USJ he doesn't do anything stupid. Professor Blad King gave them some sheets that the student representatives had to sign in order to go to the USJ. His mother signed them, but not before telling him to be careful and not take too many risks. Izuku, we'll see what happens tomorrow. I hope it's interesting. The next day Izuku was in the classroom talking to Kendo and Yui when Blad King walks in. Blad King, good morning. Before leaving we will have to do an activity. Another test. They thought reluctantly. Blad King, they will choose the president or president of the classroom along with the vice president. A normal activity. Blad King, silence. Well, you have 30 minutes to choose. So everyone stood up proposing ideas, but in the end everything was left in a vote which ended with Midorilla, 11 votes. Kendo, 8 votes. Nito, 2 votes. Everyone was surprised by Nito's thing. Everyone knew that he had voted for the same person, but they were surprised by the other vote. Then Nito spoke. Nito, it could be that she is a classmate who is interested in the great Nito Momona, ha ha ha. Nito stood up from his chair and started laughing. Izuku, I actually voted for you. Making Nito fall on his back and approach Izuku, telling him, Nito, you know, my friend, there are times when a man has to shut up and let someone be happy. Blad King, well, Izuku was chosen as president and Kendo as vice president of classes, and with this resolved, everyone is ready to go out and wear their outfits. Izuku, you are authorized to wear whatever clothes you are comfortable with. Izuku, thank you, Blad Sensei. With that said, everyone grabbed their suitcases with their suits. Izuku grabbed a sports bag, leaving in a line of men led by Izuku and a line of women led by Kendo who followed their teachers. Once outside, everyone saw the bus that would take them and Izuku spoke. Izuku, alright, all the ladies will go in first and sit in the front, we'll take the seats in the back, understood? 1B. Hey. Blad King, sometimes I'm unnecessary, he said with a drop of sweat. Already on the bus everyone was talking quietly, then a girl spoke. Kinoko, Midorilla. Izuku, yes, Komori-san. Kinoko, only Kinoko is fine. Izuku, okay Kinoko-san, what did you wish for? Kinoko, yesterday in the fight with the explosive man you said that you didn't even have to take out your other grimoire. What did you mean? Everyone was silent and paid attention to what Izuku would say until the teacher, since he had also only seen one, to which Izuku replied. Izuku, well, I also have another book, but I don't use it much. Setsuna, we can see it. Izuku, okay. With that said, a black light came out of him, transforming into a book. Kendo, it is similar to the other. Izuku, well, the only thing that changes is the color, he said, taking out the other book. Tagaru, and the black man who does. Izuku, well, you could say it's the opposite of the other, it basically casts curses that stun or immobilize the enemy. Yui, like that, he said with a neutral but curious face. Izuku, well, it could cause dizziness, blindness, among others. Everyone was surprised. Why, Izuku was already strong just by improving himself with his grimoire of improvements, but at the same time he would cast curses on his opponents, which would definitely give him victory in a fight. At that moment everyone knew it. Izuku is someone to be afraid of. Before anyone could ask anything else, the bus stopped, showing everyone the dome-shaped installation, and Blad King spoke. Blad King, okay, everyone, before you enter the building, go to the outside locker room to change into your hero costumes. 1B. Hey. After changing and the women blushing because of Izuku. Take away what he is carrying in his hands. Setsuna, Izuku and that suit, she said, totally red like her other companions. Izuku, well, it's a suit that I modified myself, putting in metal soles and other things. Blad King, okay, we're all going to meet a heroine in Class 1A. Some boys felt uncomfortable with that class, mostly because of Lida and Bakugo, and on the part of the girls because of Mineta and Kaminari, who always stopped them staring shamelessly. Izuku, well, the faster we go the faster we'll leave, follow me, good guys, he said for everyone to follow him online. Blad King, he really has them under control, he said with a drop of sweat. Already at the entrance they met Group 1A, the women greeted each other, while with the men some greeted each other manly like Kirishima and Tetsu among others, but nobody approached Lida, Bakugo, and Todoroki, the latter more because they did not know him very well. Bakugo was quiet more because of the threat that Aizawa gave him. Normally he would not give it importance since All Might would stand up for him, but he was also under threat of being expelled by the director, and that All Might could not prevent that from happening, so irritated he just kept silent, and that a heroine arrives with a space suit. 13. Good morning, guys, he said, but before he continued a space-themed girl jumped up saying, Uraraka, it's 13, I love 13, he said with great enthusiasm. Tsuyu, looks like someone is a fan, said a girl with a frog quirk. Izuku already knows their names since in practice they all introduced themselves. After the talk about how dangerous quirks can be, they entered the building, surprising the students. Everyone was surprised, until a kind of purple mist appeared from which several intimidating-looking people came out, to which Kirishima comments. Kirishima, wow, they even have fake villains. When everyone paid attention, Aizawa spoke. Aizawa, those are real villains. With that said, everyone tensed up. Suddenly a guy with his hands around his body came out of the fog. At that the stranger speaks. Where is All Might? Aizawa jumped down, landing a few meters away from him. Aizawa, who are you? We are the League of Villains, and we have come to kill the symbol of peace. Skills clarifications. Izuku's abilities. When Izuku uses his books it causes him physical and mental exhaustion, except that Izuku trains so much that he has to give a lot of improvements to get tired. The curses are what tire him the most, that is why he does not use them much. Of course it also depends on the improvement, or curse he casts, the ones that pull him the most are Quirks improvement, Berserker, Quirk weakening, physical fatigue, immobilization. Improvements. Healing. Izuku can heal people from minor to slightly deep wounds, but if the wound is serious, he can only stop the bleeding, soothe the pain, and in the best case, heal it. Strength. Improves the strength of the affected person by giving them twice the strength they already had. In Izuku, it only increases his strength by 60%. Speed. Increases the speed of the affected person twice. In Izuku, it increases his speed by 60%. Resistance enhancement. Improves the person's resistance. It is unique for each person as it increases according to the individual released. Quirk enhancement. Causes the affected person's quirk to evolve, giving them improvements related to their quirks. For some reason, Izuku can't activate it on the same person. Environmental adaptation. This improvement makes the affected individual adapt to their environment. For example, if the affected individual is in the water, it allows them to grow gills and transform their feet into fins. Fires make them resistant to fire, etc. Izuku can use this ability on the same without problems. Mental enhancement. Makes the affected person resistant to attacks that directly affect the mind, such as trances, illusions, mind control, mind reading, etc. Izuku can use this ability on himself without problems. Object repair. This ability allows Izuku to return the affected object to its best condition as if newly manufactured. Berserker. This ability explosively increases all aspects of the person such as strength, speed, intelligence, and automatically improves the quirk. This ability necessarily needs a person other than Izuku, since when activating it, it improves Izuku, and if there is no person selected, the Grimoire will choose one at random. When the improvement culminates, it leaves Izuku and the other affected with a strong muscle alone, making mobility difficult for 12 hours. This skill? Leave your improvements. The one that convinces me the most I will put in the future. Courses. Blindness. Impairs complete vision. Dizziness. It simply causes strong dizziness, and weak people may feel nauseous and may even vomit. Physical fatigue. This ability causes the affected being to have muscle pain and extreme fatigue. Immobilization. This ability paralyzes all the muscles of the affected being, but the more strength the being has, the shorter the duration will be. Quirk weakening. Makes the quirks of those affected less powerful or efficient, also affecting mutation types. For example, those with a tail or others will lose the ability to use it correctly. Those with special skin like scales or others will be less resistant. Those of animal type will see their senses affected and their strength and agility will be reduced, etc. Mental fatigue. Makes a person feel very sleepy, making it impossible for them to think clearly. Leave your curse alone. I will put the one that convinces me the most in the future. Data. If Izuku faints, the duration of the effects will be greatly reduced and may even disappear. The duration depends on Izuku's physical and mental condition. If he is tired, he will launch short duration effects. In perfect conditions, he can launch effects that last for hours. The only thing that alters the duration of the effects is Izuku's fainting. If I cast a 2-hour duration effect and then he gets tired, it won't affect the effect. But if he faints, the effect can be reduced to just 30 minutes. Izuku knows how to fight hand-to-hand since he learned some martial arts. Chapter 7. Demonstrating USJ Leadership 2. After the stranger said those words, all the villains pounced on Aizawa, who with his bandages and his quirk immobilized the villains, knocking them out. With students and their teachers. Blad King, 13 contacts help. 13. I can't, not even the alarms were activated. It appears that someone is interfering with the signal of this place. In the middle of the discussion, someone spoke. Izuku, teachers, we have to get out of here first. We also have to help Aizawa-sensei. Since he won't last long here. He said, pointing at Aizawa, who was fighting the villains. Blad King, okay. 13 escorts the students to the exit and ask for support. I will help Aizawa in the fight. With that, he launched himself into combat. 13. Okay, everyone follow me quickly. Izuku, 1 moment, teacher. 13. What happened? Izuku just took out his improvement book and approached the railing. 13. What does it do? Kendo, we'll support our teachers. Before 13 could ask again, they saw the book open and some lights came out that were directed at Aizawa and Blad King who were fighting. When they felt the change in their bodies they turned around and saw Izuku on the railing, then they understood who had supported them so they just smiled at him and continued fighting, but with the improvements it was easier for them to fight. With Izuku he put away his book and returned to the group. Izuku, ready, we can go now. 13 didn't ask and began to escort the students quickly towards the exit, but a kind of fog appeared and began to speak. Kurogyri, good morning, I am Kurogyri from the League of Villains, can you tell me if the symbol of peace will come? 13 boys behind me. With that said, everyone stood behind the heroine who proceeded to activate her quirk and begin to absorb the mist. Kurogyri, I don't think so. He said to open 2 portals in front and behind the heroine causing her to absorb herself leaving her injured. Izuku-sensei. He said taking out his book improving his speed grabbing the heroine and bringing her to the others. Izuku, Todoroki creates a wall of ice quickly. He said with a demanding voice. Todoroki did not hesitate and raised a large wall of ice leaving Kurogyri on the other side. Izuku immediately began to heal the heroine. Izuku, shit the wound is deep I can only stop the bleeding and relieve the pain. 13 almost fainting spoke. 13 boy you have to get your classmates out of here. He said and then fainted. Mineta, what kind of hero faints in this situation? But then Izuku gives him a look that everyone saw and felt a chill. Izuku, shut up shorty. At that everyone falls silent. Izuku, Lida runs to the academy to seek help. Lida, am I not a coward like you to leave? That's what he said but everyone saw him trembling as Izuku approached grabbing him by the suit looking at him seriously saying, Izuku, I'm not asking you, I'm ordering you, I'm going to repeat it to you again, go to the academy and ask for help. Lida ran towards the exit at Izuku's scream. Bakugo, damn nerd who put you in charge to give orders. For Bakugo it was impossible to follow orders from a Deku, who according to him was inferior, but he is silenced by a punch in the face surprising everyone. Bakugo was going to start a fight but he froze when he looked into Izuku's eyes. Izuku, Bakugo, this is not the time nor am I in the mood to put up with your nonsense, so shut up before I silence you with blows. Bakugo in any other case would have pounced on Izuku but he saw in his eyes that he was not joking. But his pride was greater than his reasoning, and he told him. Bakugo, who do you think you are, you bucking nerd, to threaten the great cat? He couldn't finish speaking as Izuku, increasing his strength, had hit him in the face, making him faint. Izuku, I don't tolerate nonsense right now. He said seriously. Everyone was surprised why they hadn't seen that side of Izuku, more than his classmates who would never think of seeing him like that. But their thoughts were interrupted by the appearance of Kurogyri. Kurogyri inspected the students, noticing that one was missing. Kurogyri, where is your partner? He said in a serious tone, but no one answered. Kurogyri turned to look in the direction of the exit seeing how a blue-haired man ran quickly to the exit. Kurogyri curse. He said to try to go catch him. Izuku, pony. Pony, hey. Suddenly 2 horns went in Kurogyri's direction, more specifically towards where the eyes were seen, so Kurogyri, without paying much attention to the tension, opened a small portal in front of the horns, making them disappear. Kurogyri, I don't have time for you. He said but saw that Lida had already left. Kurogyri, damn, I have to tell Shigaraki, but first. He started looking at the students and making the mist start going towards them. To which Izuku shouted. Izuku, everyone avoid the fog. At that everyone started to go back away. Izuku watched as the mist surrounded them all and seeing that it would be impossible to escape he said. Izuku, hold the person closest to you and don't let go. Everyone understood what was going to happen and grabbed the person closest to them. Izuku had Bakugo in his grasp and was carrying the heroine on his back. Kurogyri, goodbye. He said so that all the fog would fall on the students, sending them to different parts of the USJ except for Izuku, Tetsu, and Ibara. The fainted students were still with Izuku. Tetsu, damn, where are the boys? he demanded Kurojiri, getting into a combat stance. Kurojiri, I sent them to different places in this facility, he said as he began to disappear. Tetsu was about to attack him but was stopped by Izuku. Kurojiri was already gone. Tetsu, Izuku bro, why did you stop me? Izuku, he's a person with a quirk that allows him to open portals. You wouldn't have done much before he sent you somewhere else too, and we need you here. Pointing to some villains who were beginning to approach them. Izuku, Ibara takes care of them, he said, putting 13 and Bakugo next to Ibara. Ibara, don't worry, I will take care of protecting them and I will pray for their safety, she said to put her hands together, and her hair began to grow, forming a sphere around them. Izuku stood next to Tetsu watching as the villains approached. Tetsu, will the boys be okay? Izuku, I managed to improve everyone's strength and speed before we separated, we just have to believe in them. Tetsu, Izuku bro, if these villains are here, do you think something happened to Aizawa and Blad sensei? Izuku, most likely, we will have to defeat these villains and see what happened. Tetsu understood, he said, turning his body into metal and bumping his fists. Izuku, don't be so confident, you don't know what his quirks are, he said as he began to approach the laughing villains. Villains 1, look at the little heroes trying to be brave, he said, taking out crystals from his body. Villains 2, it will be fun to cut them, he said, to turn his arms into blades. Villains 3, we'll go get that girl later, he spoke while licking his lips and taking out a small amount of fire from his arm, and so did the other villains who were showing their peculiarities. Tetsu, Izuku bro, some villain we have to be careful of, he said, preparing to attack. Izuku, no, but we better make sure, he said, to take out his book of curses. Blinding the villains, and before the villains could complain they heard. Izuku, now Tetsu. The two young men set out to fight against the villains who, being blind, were easily defeated. When they defeated the last one, Izuku said, Izuku, they were just talkers, they didn't last long. Tetsu, Izuku bro, we have to see the senseis, he said, to start leaving, but Izuku stopped him. Izuku, I'll go see them, you get Ibara, 13 and Bakugo out of the building, it's very dangerous for them to stay here, I'll go support the teachers. Fortunately for them, Todoroki's wall was still covering them, which would help them go unnoticed. Tetsu, it's okay. Tetsu did not complain and went to Ibara. He knew that Izuku was right, and also in the short time that they knew each other, Izuku gained his trust, also demonstrating wise decision-making in dangerous cases. Izuku, good. Izuku started running in the direction of the stairs, and Tetsu headed with Ibara to the exit. When they were about to remove something or someone crashed into the ice wall, Izuku quickly approached and saw Blad King fainted and injured. Quickly Izuku began to heal him. Izuku, shit, what happened? When he finished healing his teacher, he quickly went to the place of the fight, seeing Aizawa being beaten mercilessly by some kind of bird on steroids. Moments ago, Erased Head Aizawa and Blad King were fighting against the villains. Thanks to Izuku's improvements, it was easier for them. Aizawa, your student Blad's gift is very useful, he said as he wrapped a villain with his ribbons. Blad King, he also knows how to fight hand to hand and has great control of his gift, he said, hitting a villain, leaving him unconscious. Aizawa, you don't want me to change it, I can give you Bakugo. Blad King, no thanks, enough I have with Momona. They continued to fight against the villains, being watched by Shigaraki. Then a fog appears from which Kurojiri came out. Shigaraki, what happened to the heroine? Kurojiri, I left her seriously injured, but it seems that a student stabilized her. At the moment she is unconscious. Shigaraki, and the brats. At that, Kurojiri lets out a sigh to answer. Kurojiri, one escaped and I scattered most of them throughout the facilities. Shigaraki, what the hell, one of us got away? He shouted irritably while scratching his neck hard. Shigaraki, if you weren't our only way out, I would kill you right here, we can't waste time, he said, watching the heroes fight. Shigaraki, bring it here. Kurojiri, but All Might hasn't come yet. Shigaraki, Thanks to your incompetence, more heroes will come. At least we will leave a wound to the heroes by killing 2 pro heroes and some students, so bring the Noma. Kurojiri, without saying anything, opened a portal from which a kind of mutant chicken emerged. Shigaraki, perfect, now. Noma, finish those heroes. With that said, the Noma quickly ran towards the 2 heroes who were distracted. When Aizawa realized, he tried to warn Blad King, but the Nomu at an astonishing speed had already hit Blad's head, sending him flying, crashing into Todoroki's ice wall. Aizawa, damn, he said, wrapping him with his ribbons, but the Nomu in a struggle broke them, taking Aizawa by the leg and throwing him against the floor, starting to hit him mercilessly. Aizawa was thankful for the improvements Izuku had made, otherwise at this moment he would have all his bones broken, but if he continued like this he was going to faint from the pain. He saw how the Nomu was preparing to give him a big blow by putting his 2 hands together. Aizawa, damn, he said, putting his arms in, and keep your balance. Present. Izuku-sensei. Aizawa, Midoriya, what are you doing here? Where are your classmates? He said seriously. Izuku explained what happened, worrying Aizawa, knowing that everyone must be fighting villains at the moment, something that Izuku noticed. Izuku, don't worry too much, I managed to give everyone buffs before we parted ways. That calmed Aizawa a little, since he saw for himself how useful Izuku's improvements were. But then the Nomu appeared behind Izuku. Izuku, but how? When the Nomu was about to hit Izuku, but Aizawa got in front of him, receiving the strong blow and flying away, falling near where Izuku left Blad King lying. Izuku was surprised, since he had cursed him with dizziness and blindness, but the Nomu was a creation to kill All Might, so his senses were superior, and guided by the sound he managed to locate Izuku. Izuku, shit, he exclaimed, dodging the blows that the Nomu began to give him. Izuku with difficulty found himself dodging the blows, improving himself while cursing the Nomu with muscle weakness and weakened quirk, which tired him, but the Nomu moved slower. But in a moment of carelessness the Nomu was going to hit him in the head, but Tetsu appeared, receiving the impact. Izuku, Tetsu, what are you doing here? Tetsu, I took Ibra out with 13 and the explosive man. I came to check how things were and I found the teachers passed out, and you fighting against this thing. Tetsu spoke while dodging some blows and receiving others thanks to his hardening and Izuku's improvements. Also thanks to the fact that the Nomu had the curses, he could withstand the blows. Tetsu, Izuku, what's the plan? Izuku, he'll hold on until the heroes come, what else do we have left? Tetsu, then let's go. The 2 young men began to hit the Nomu, while at the entrance the 2 classes began to arrive. 1A/1B sensei. They screamed when they saw their teachers fainted on the ground. Then Kendo looks at everyone and sees that someone is missing and asks, Kendo, where is Izuku, Tetsu and Ibra? Everyone looked at each other looking for those mentioned, but they couldn't find them. Then a person with many arms spoke. Shoji, I could hear that they stayed at the entrance. Before anyone could say anything, a dwarf shouted, Mineta, they surely took the opportunity to escape. That bothered Class 1B because they knew well that Izuku would not abandon them. Nito, shut up, shorty, Izuku is not a coward like you. Mineta altered the context. Mineta, as you surely know, he acted like that to impress the girls, and in reality he was a coward. Before Nito could answer, something fell in front of everyone, causing a small crater, and when everyone got closer they saw an injured Tetsu on top of Izuku. What happened is that Izuku gave the Nomu a hacksaw, but when he hurried he gave him a short-lived one. When the Nomu regained his vision he grabbed Tetsu by the leg, throwing him at Izuku, sending them flying. Kendo, guys, he said, moving towards them to help them, but Izuku screamed. Izuku, don't come closer. When they heard the screams, something landed in front of the boys, then everyone got scared seeing a mutant chicken. Mineta, what is that thing? I scream in terror when I see the Nomu who peed. Izuku, I don't know what it is, but it's very strong, don't get too close. Melissa, but Izuku, you are hurt. Scream. Everyone saw Izuku and Tetsu who were full of wounds, but Izuku opens his book, starting to heal himself and heal Tetsu. In that the Nomu launches to attack Izuku and Tetsu. Tetsu, Izuku bro, I don't think I can resist much longer. he said, tired. Izuku was very tired, so the healing only scarred the wounds and did not remove the fatigue. Izuku, me either, I just have to try something else. Tetsu, what a thing. Izuku, let's go back first. They both stepped back. Izuku turned to see Todoroki, who understood what he had to do. Izuku now. I screamed for Tetsu and Izuku to jump back. When the Nomu was about to pounce on them, a large and thick wall of ice rose between the Nomu and the students. Without wasting time, the Nomu began to hit the ice, beginning to break it, while on the other side were Izuku and Tetsu kneeling, breathing heavily, while everyone rushed to help them. Kendo, Momo creates bandages. Momo, I'm already on it. Taking out several bandages from his arm, but before they started selling them, Izuku said, Izuku, that thing won't give us time for that. Watching the ice begin to tremble and crack. Izuku, I need everyone to run to the exit. Tetsu, and I will make time. Kyoka, we can't leave them here. Everyone agreed and were ready to fight except for Mineta and Kaminari, who were shaking in fear. Izuku, thanks guys, but that thing is very strong. Tetsu barely holds his own, and that's even though he's using his quirk and my enhancements, and the Nomu was affected by my curses. Everyone at that moment was scared, not because they were cowards, but because they all saw Izuku's improvements, and knew how strong he made him, and if they were told that with everything in Tetsu's quirk they could barely hold on, they imagined that they would end up with their bones shattered. Izuku, you guys have to go. Kendo, but you are also in bad shape. He said this while looking at Tetsu, who was breathing heavily. Izuku, don't worry, I have a skill that will help us buy time. Then they hear the ice start to fall. Izuku, there's no time left, run. Everyone knew that they would only be a hindrance, so they started running towards the exit. If you are wondering why Kurogiri let them escape, it is because in the fight they raised a lot of dust, and with the ice pillars that remained they made it difficult to see. Izuku, Tetsu, you can still go if you want. Tetsu, even if I wanted to run, it would not be manly to abandon a friend. Tetsu said with a defiant smile. Tetsu, what's the plan now? Izuku, I will activate an ability that will explosively improve us in every way, but in my current condition it will be short-lived. In that short time, we will have to attack with everything we have. Tetsu understood. With that the ice broke, revealing the Nomu, who started running to attack the boys. Izuku quickly put away the Book of Curses and his other book began to move, leaving a sheet with the ability. Izuku Berserker. Chapter 8, All for All USJ Final. After saying those words, black lines marked Izuku's body, slightly increasing his size and musculature, as he adopted an intimidating aura and his eyes turned black with white pupils. With Tetsu, his enhanced quirk covered his entire body. The clothes on his upper body tore because of the spikes that came out of his skin. From the waist down, it was only a kind of very resistant dark metal. In that, the two of them lunged at the Nomu, beginning to exchange blows. Izuku, let's not back Tetsu. Tetsu, I don't plan on doing that. Izuku bro. Both of them hit the Nomu savagely. They planted their feet on the ground, preventing the Nomu's blows from sending them flying. The Nomu was already tired because of the curses that left small effects and the constant regenerating, since when hitting Tetsu his spikes hurt him, forcing him to regenerate. In that wild battle no one gave a truce. Either the Nomu nor the boys rested from hitting their opponent, who were already experiencing fatigue. The Nomu continued to give strong but slow blows compared to the beginning. With the boys he already felt how the Berserker effect was disappearing. Tetsu's spikes were breaking with each blow received, and that some parts of his body were losing the black hue, returning to the usual metallic color. With Izuku he felt like his strength was being reduced as well as his speed, but at this point they could only clench their fists hard and continue hitting. Shigaraki watched all this with fury and scratching his neck said, Shigaraki, how is it possible that two brats can stand up to my Nomu? Kurogiri, I don't know, but we have to retreat. The heroes should be closed by now. Shigaraki, no, this can't end like this. Nomu, kill those brats. In the fight the Nomu kept hitting, He heard the order, but he was already tired, and in a desperate act he grabbed Tetsutetsu's leg, but in that Izuku held him by his arms and Tetsutetsu grabbed the Nomu's arm with his other leg. Izuku grabbed Tetsutetsu's arms and spun around, lifting the Nomu and starting to spin. At that, Tetsutetsu released his grip on his legs and with a kick to the head made the Nomu release him, sending him to where Shigaraki and Kurogiri were. The latter, due to the surprise, was unable to form a portal, so they had to jump away so that the Nomu would not hit them. With Izuku and Tetsutetsu already standing on the floor, Izuku saw how the Berserker mode was about to disappear from Tetsutetsu. Knowing how he would look after it disappeared, holding Tetsutetsu's shoulder. Tetsutetsu, Izuku bro, what's up? He said, tired and breathing hard from the fight. Izuku, I'm sorry, but I'm the president of the classroom and I have to ensure your health. Tetsutetsu, why do you say that? Before Izuku could finish speaking, with the little strength he had left, he quickly lifted Tetsutetsu up and threw him towards the exit. He knew that with his quirk active, Tetsutetsu would withstand the impact. One of the reasons he let Tetsutetsu fight alongside him against the Nomu is that he knew that if things got ugly, he could throw Tetsutetsu away from danger thanks to his quirk. In that he saw how the Nomu approached panting, Izuku knew that if he used his strength, the Berserker effect was going to quickly reduce until it disappeared, so he just put his arms together and began to withstand the blows that the Nomu sent him. Outside, the heroes were arriving along with All Might in his civilian form, the latter worried about his successor Bakugo but calmed down when he saw him lying on the floor next to the other students. That's what Nizu said. Nizu, you can tell me what happened. I speak as calmly as I could muster at that moment, and Kendo and Momo begin to explain to him what happened. But two heroines were looking for a green-haired boy among the students, and when they didn't find them, they interrupted the girls and asked, Mirko/Ryukyu, where is Izuku? Momo, Kendo and the other women were surprised why they called Izuku so familiarly, but they were alarmed when they remembered where he was. Kendo, he's fighting alongside Tetsutetsu against a monster inside. At that, Aizawa begins to recover listening to the conversation. Aizawa, they are crazy. Everyone paid attention to that. Aizawa, that monster they said was made to kill All Might had many quirks including regeneration, super strength, and shock absorption. We have to go for the fast one. All the heroes, upon hearing those words, became alarmed and began to run towards the facilities, except for All Might, who for him had no reason to overexert himself since his successor was already safe. When all the heroes were near the entrance, the door broke, and a wounded Tetsutetsu, barely conscious, was thrown out and rolled across the floor. 1B Tetsu. They went to help their partner who was trying to get him on his feet. Kendo saw how parts of his body were still black and some spikes on his body, understood that Izuku had improved his quirk, and that they saw how his quirk was deactivating. When that happened, Tetsutetsu tried to move, but in that Tetsutetsu, ahhhhh. He screamed, alarming everyone. Recovery girl came over to check on him, shocked, saying, Recovery girl, the young man has severe muscle pain, but it is in areas where I see that he has not been hit. I don't know what it could be. At that, Kendo remembered something. Kendo, Izuku said he had a skill that would allow him to buy time. This may be an effect of using that skill. Mirko, then we have to hurry. If Izuku used that ability on himself, he must be in trouble. He said so that he jumped towards the entrance, followed by all the heroes. When they entered, they were surprised to see how everything was in ruins. There were small craters, unconscious villains on the ground, and pillars of ice all over the place. But what surprised him the most was seeing a green-haired man in the center of everything with his clothes torn, receiving brutal blows from a bird-like monster. With Izuku, he was receiving the blows of the Noma, but then he felt how the ability ended and his muscles began to hurt. He just said, Izuku, damn. After saying that, he was thrown a few meters by the Noma's blow, rolling on the ground. The Noma was advancing to kill Izuku, but a kick sends him flying. His impact absorption from the Nomu is already at the limit due to the blows from Izuku and Tetsutetsu, and his regeneration was already too slow. Which is why he could not defend himself from the rain of kicks from an enraged Mirko, and if that were not enough, an angry dragon threw a punch at him, slamming him against the wall. Shigaraki, seeing this, just said, Shigaraki, those damn heroes have already arrived. Let's go, Kurogyri. Kurogyri understood, he said, and then opened a portal through which they disappeared. Izuku calmed down when he saw Rumi and Ryuko. With difficulty he turned his gaze to the entrance, seeing the heroes. Then, unable to bear it any longer, he closed his eyes, falling into unconsciousness. Chapter 9: Awakening and Sports Festival. Izuku was waking up. Izuku, there is my little head, where am I? Izuku looked around and then looked at himself and saw that he was on a stretcher all bandaged, and with casts on his arms. Then he remembered everything that happened and let out a sigh. Izuku, at least it's all over now, he said with relief. At that moment the door opened, through which his mother entered with a basket full of apples, but when she saw her son awake she threw the basket on the floor and ran to hug him. Izuku, okay mom, I'm fine. But suddenly his mother stopped hugging him and started pulling his ear. Inko, how could you put yourself in that dangerous situation? What would have happened if the heroes hadn't arrived in time? Izuku knew very well what would have happened. He was grateful that the heroes had arrived, otherwise it would have been the end for him, but he couldn't let his companions get hurt, and he couldn't let a creature like that go free. Breaking free from his mother's grip, he said, Izuku, don't be scared mom, that's already over and I'm fine. I couldn't allow that creature to hurt my classmates or continue to be loose. Inko, you are still my son and I don't like you exposing yourself to danger. I know very well that being a hero involves risks, but promise me that you will think about yourself before doing something crazy. Izuku, I promise mom, I'll be more careful from now on. After that they continued talking for a while, then Izuku asks, Izuku mom, how long was I unconscious? To which his mother said, Inko, you were 3 days without waking up, you worried me too much. At that Izuku opened his eyes wide. Izuku, what about classes? Inko, don't worry, classes have been suspended for the rest of the week due to the incident, he said while peeling an apple. After that they continued talking until their mother had to leave because it was already getting dark. In the following days, his classmates from Class 1 became along with most of Class 1A since they had found out that Izuku woke up, so they went to thank him for his help, except Bakugo, Mineta, Lida and Kaminari, who excused themselves saying that they had better things to do. He also received a visit from 2 heroines who didn't look very happy, and well, what happened was Saturday morning. Izuku was having a bowl of cereal with milk for breakfast, but suddenly he heard the door being kicked open. Izuku, what the? Before finishing speaking he saw who it was that kicked the door, seeing Rumi entering followed by Ryuko who, upon seeing him, hugged him, surprising Izuku. Izuku, oh. But before he could continue he received a blow to the head from each one. Izuku, oh you CH girls, I'm still hurt, he said, but saw how the girls glared at him. Rumi looked at him with a frown while Ryuko with her reptilian eyes sharpened her gaze. Rumi/Ryuko, what were you thinking? Then a series of scoldings followed. After that they talked for a while and then said goodbye to the green-haired boy, making him promise that the 3 of them would go out somewhere later. Sunday. Izuku was waking up. Today was going to be the last day that Izuku would be in the hospital since he would be discharged. He could have used his book to heal faster, but he decided to take his stay in the hospital as a rest. Anyway, the UA offered to pay the medical expenses, so he didn't worry. At the UA. This is going to be how the heroes react to Izuku's battle. If you don't want to read it, skip to where it says Monday. In the UA, more specifically in the director's office, were the teachers and some top heroes along with some more, discussing the reason for the meeting. Then Niza enters, causing the whole place to fall into complete silence. Then he speaks. Nizu, well, since we are all gathered, let's begin the meeting. At that the Eternal Number 2 speaks. Endeavor. So that meeting, Niza, I'm already starting to get tired and I have important matters to attend to. Niza looks sternly at the hero saying, Nizu, I think those matters will have to wait since the topic of this meeting is a potential danger to society. After saying that, everyone put on a serious face, so someone spoke up. Kamui would, and what would be that danger you speak of, director? He said in a respectful way since he had also been his student. Nizu, without answering, turned on a projector showing some images of Shigaraki. Nizu, this is the leader of a new group that calls itself the League of Villains. They have the support of a large group of villains. For now, the only members we know are Shigaraki and this fog man named Kurojiri. Before the heroes said that it's just another group of villains, Nizu continued. Nizu, but the real danger is not represented by them but by this creature, he said, changing the photos showing the Nomu. Some heroes were scared away by his appearance. Nizu, he knows him by the name, Nomu. Research by the laboratory and recovery has shown that this creature was once human. The heroes were shocked to learn that the monster was a human. Nizu, recovery, could you tell us the details? The glances turned to an old lady who was drinking tea, then she spoke. Recovery girl, basically she is a human who was mutated into that creature. It seems that she was created in such a way that she has great resistance and raw power, capable of adapting the multiple quirks that she had. Everyone was surprised, but then someone spoke. Empty lady, what do you mean, multiple quirks? The heroine exclaimed in surprise, and she was not the only one. All the heroes were surprised by the information, so Recovery spoke. Recovery girl, that creature had 3 quirks which were super strength, shock absorption, and regeneration. Everyone was shocked as that was a very dangerous combination. That's what Aizawa spoke about. Aizawa, I think I heard him say that creature was made to kill All Might. Aizawa spoke with a tired tone. He was bandaged only on his arms and had already recovered from the broken ribs he had. Then everyone tensed upon hearing Aizawa's words. Even All Might, and then a hero who was not present at the rescue spoke. Hero, but with those quirks it wouldn't be invincible. How did they manage to capture that thing? The heroes who were not in the rescue also wondered the same thing, to which Nizu responded. Nizu, it was thanks to which 2 students faced the Nomu, pulling him out and causing his quirks to wear out greatly. Hero, you're saying 2 kids were able to take on that thing? Nizu, why don't you see it for yourself? He said to start putting a video. Nizu, this video is from the USJ cameras and audio on the day of the attack. The video began to play. It showed how the villains and Shigaraki appeared, also when Aizawa and Blad King launched into a fight, in that they saw how Izuku summoned his book, and then a heroine asked, Empty lady, what is that book? Most heroes also showed interest, while some arrogant heroes ignored him as they didn't think he was strong. Nizu, that is his quirk called Grimoire. As far as we know, it allows him to summon 2 grimoires. One allows him to improve himself and his allies such as strength, speed, etc., and the other allows him to cast curses such as blindness, dizziness, among others, but the one that matters most is that it can weaken quirks. Nizu knew this as they interrogated Izuku after he woke up, thanking him for saving their classmates and teachers. Then a hero spoke. Extra hero, that kid would be a good helper. At that, some other heroes said the same thing regarding Izuku being a good helper, and so on. Aizawa, Blad King, Mirko and Ryuko looked at those heroes in a bad way. Blad, Mirko and Ryuko, knowing that Izuku did not like being told that he would only be a helper, and Aizawa for having seen the power in him to be a hero, in that Nizu speaks. Nizu, we better keep watching then give your opinions. In that Nizu continued with the video. They saw how the boys guided by 13 tried to get out while Aizawa and Blad King fought, also how the mist appeared with the boys and left 13 incapacitated. Likewise, the quick action of Izuku, seeing how he ordered Todoroki to raise a huge wall of ice and use it to stabilize 13. They saw how he yelled at Lida and fainted Bakugo, something that the symbol of peace who was about to claim did not like, but Nizu speaks. Nizu, we will have to talk to young Bakugo, since in a situation like this there is no place for that behavior. All Might remain silent so as not to be made a fool of. Continuing with the video, they were amazed by Izuku's leadership. They also saw how Izuku, when he was about to separate from his companions, he quickly improved them all, also how he faced villains with Tetsu, being amazed by how they cooperated. They observed how Izuku prioritized the safety of his partner and the injured heroine by sending Tetsu to escort her to the exit, and that everyone saw how Blad King crashed into the ice wall by the blow. The aforementioned rubbed his head wrapped in bandages. They watched in horror as the creature called Nomu hit Aizawa mercilessly, while Shigaraki explained everything about the Nomu and so on, and that a hero spoke. Extra hero, do you think they have more of those nomas? What recovery is talking about? Recovery? I don't think so, because if that were the case they would have brought more nomas to ensure their victory. I think they take a while to produce them, so we'll wait a while before seeing another one like that. Those words calmed the heroes a little. Nizu, we better continue. Everyone turned their attention back to the screen watching as Aizawa was rescued by Izuku, but the Noma caught up with them watching as Aizawa stood in front of Izuku receiving the blow, flying against the wall, falling unconscious. In that everyone watched in astonishment as Izuku faced the Noma dodging and hitting, and how Tetsu appeared with his quirk active receiving a blow that was going to hit Izuku and joining the fight. Then they watched as they flew out arriving with their companions who had gathered, and how Izuku sent Todoroki to raise another wall of ice, protecting them all for the moment in which Izuku and Tetsu knelt tired and sore from the blows, and that Best Jean spoke. Best Jean, they put up a very good fight, but they are already too exhausted to continue fighting. Nizu, keep watching, the director said with a smile. Everyone returned to concentrate on the screen watching as Izuku told his companions to leave, that he and Tetsu would gain time. That action surprised the real heroes and seemed stupid to the fake ones who were quick to give their opinion. False hero, how stupid would be to escape with the others. One's safety always comes first. I speak firmly, being supported by some other heroes, being seen with displeasure by the other heroes until the director shook his head in disappointment. Nizu, I'll talk to you later. In that everyone saw the projection again and saw how the Nomu broke the ice wall running towards Izuku and Tetsu who were standing. Izuku put away his book of curses, missing the heroes, and that they saw how Izuku shouted the word Berserker, so that later all the heroes saw in astonishment how Izuku's eyes changed color, and black lines were marked all over his body, but they were more struck by how Tetsu's metallic skin adopted a darker color, and spikes came out of his body, adopting with Izuku an intimidating aura. All the heroes were amazed by the change of the students, and that Beast Jean, without leaving his astonishment, asked Nizu. Beast Jean, excuse me Nizu, what happened to the students? Nizu, what you just witnessed is one of the strongest abilities of the student Midorilla, which is Berserker, which allows the user and one more person to explosively improve all their abilities while momentarily evolving the quirk of the other person, but after the effect leaves those who used it with severe muscle pain for half a day. Everyone was surprised by such an ability. Although the ability leaves the user incapacitated upon completion, it is an ability that can make the difference in a battle, and some heroes were already thinking of giving him an internship, the fake ones as support, and the real heroes wanted to discover and help the boy reach his full potential. Nizu, if you want the student in your agencies, wait until after the festival. Let's continue with the video. In that they saw how Izuku along with Tetsu ran against the Nomu, starting a brutal exchange of blows that lasted a few minutes, in which they saw how the boys and the Nomu began to tire. Beast Jean, they have to finish the fight quickly, they are already at the limit. I spoke while watching the video, which showed how Shigaraki lost his patience and ordered the Nomu to finish quickly. They observed how the Nomu tried to grab Tetsu by the legs, and Izuku held Tetsu by the arms, spinning and throwing the Nomu away. Everyone was surprised by the coordination of the two students, but they watched as Izuku grabbed Tetsu by the shoulder and pulled him towards the exit. Extra hero, why does he do that? They were already going to win, he said, surprised, to which Ryukyu responds, Ryukyu, didn't you hear what Nizu said? When his technique ends they will be paralyzed by muscle pain, so they will be defenseless, so Izuku threw his partner to save him. Everyone was surprised by the deduction, but they heard blows. Looking back at the projection, and to their surprise and horror they saw how Izuku hardened the brutal blows that the Nomu gave him. Extra hero, why doesn't he fight back or escape? Nizu, young Izuku told us that at that moment he had no strength, so if he moved or tried to attack that Berserker effect would end up leaving him defenseless, so he only had to resist. Everyone was surprised by the boy's determination, and then the projection went out. Nizu, after we arrived and managed to control the situation, in the end the reason for this is to warn them that if they come across these creatures, they should save the civilians, ask for support, and avoid a direct confrontation against them if possible. Understood. Heroes endeavor, all might, HAI. Concluding the meeting, it must be said that Ryuko and Rumi were happy that Izuku showed what he was worth. Monday. Izuku was already walking through the halls of the academy. He said goodbye to his mother, but not before promising that he would take better care of himself. Already entering his classroom, he is greeted by all his classmates. The most energetic ones were asking him things about his quirk. The calmer ones thanked him, but a spiky hair wrapped an arm around his neck and said, Tetsu, I'm glad you're okay now, Izuku bro. Izuku, I'm glad you're okay, Tetsu. Tetsu was discharged a day before Izuku woke up. Tetsu, yes, although the muscle pain it gave me was a surprise. Izuku, sorry about that. Because of the situation, I couldn't explain to you what would happen. Tetsu, no problem, Izuku bro, I hope to fight like this again someday. At that point, Nito joins the conversation. Nito, at least you showed the useless people of Class A how superior Class B is. Izuku, although we receive help from them, I already told you that here nobody believes themselves superior to anyone. Nito, tell it to the crazy explosive and Sonic's cousin. Izuku, good point, he said with a drop of sweat. Blad King, good morning guys, take your seats. Everyone went to their places in order, then Blad King speaks. Blad King, okay guys, don't relax yet as this is just beginning. Aways, another villain attack, he said, worried like his companions. Blad King, isn't that the sports festival is coming up? Chapter 10, Prepared and Sports Festival 2. When the teacher gave the sports festival, everyone was excited and encouraged to be the best. Izuku, Professor, how long do we have until the festival arrives? Blad King, there is 1 month left until the festival, so during that time you will have to polish your skills at the academy, and a week before the festival you will be given the week to practice on your own. Everyone was excited and wanted to practice and improve their skills so they could show their class at the sports festival. Tetsu/aways, let's do our best. All, hey. Blad King, they are indeed animated. At that, Izuku approaches. The two look at the others talking to each other and saying to Blad King, Izuku, it will be our first time in public with television coverage. I think it's better to be excited than to be nervous. Blad King, you're right. At that point, Blad King puts things in order and begins to give his class. After 2 hours, the bell is heard. Blad King, I'm leaving so you can go to the dining room. Don't forget to give your best. All, hi. Blad King left first. Izuku began to pack his things but heard some discussions, turning his gaze towards the door, seeing how people were crowding, and Kendo asked them for permission to pass. Izuku, what's going on? Nito, they must have come to see the magnificent Class B that survived the attack of the villains. We must go and greet them. Nito was about to leave the classroom. Izuku knew he was going to show off, so. Izuku, Nito waits. Nito, what's wrong, Izuku? He said, turning around to see Izuku approaching. At that, Izuku calls out to Izuku, oh Tagaru. I shout, calling those mentioned. Jirota. Tagaru. Jirota/Tagaru, what happened, President? They said, approaching Izuku and Nito. Izuku, only Izuku is fine. I called them to kindly accompany Nito to the dining room without talking to those outside. Jirota/Tagaru, why? Nito and the two had confused faces. Izuku, you don't want us to make enemies of the entire academy because of Nito, do you? Nito still didn't understand, but Jirota and Tagaru took him by the shoulders. Izuku, wait for me to remove the people from the entrance so they can take him. He said to approach Kendo, who was trying to disperse the people so they can leave. But a purple-haired man stands in front of everyone and says, so this is Group B of the hero course, they don't look very strong. Before Kendo could answer, Izuku is heard speaking. Izuku, appearances can be deceiving, my friend. Don't underestimate others. I will simply tell you what I told Group A. If we beat you, we will be in the hero course and you will be displaced. I Shinso will enter the hero course. Izuku, yes, but each one in this room will not be easily defeated. Now that you have given us your warning, could you please step aside as we need to go to the dining room? Shinso, TSK, it seems you have an amazing quirk to be arrogant. Izuku, excuse me. Izuku stopped mid-word with his eyes rolled back. Shinso, You have nothing now, kneel down. Those in class watched in disbelief as Izuku began to read slightly. Shinso, ha ha ha, if this is the kind of heroes I will overcome them very easily. Those in the classroom were going to help Izuku to prevent him from kneeling, but they saw how his book came out of him, and they calmed him down. Izuku, I think attacking someone like that is a bit rude. Shinso was surprised, as Izuku broke free from his control. Shinso, what did you do? Izuku, I don't have to tell you. Shinso was surprised again as he tried to control Izuku again, but it had no effect on him. Shinso, don't think too much of yourself. Izuku, I don't think I'm better than others, so please get out of the way before I get you out of the way. Izuku said calmly but a little angry for almost kneeling before Shinso. Shinso, and what are you supposed to do? He said without moving from the spot as well as the other people around him. Izuku, I did my duty to warn you. He said to take out another grimoire. Everyone saw Shinso stagger and fell. Shinso, what's wrong? He said, alarmed at not being able to see anything. Izuku, don't be scared, I just made you dizzy and blind, it will go away in 15 minutes. Everyone blocking the entrance took a step back. Izuku, you're his friend, right? A fearful black-haired boy. Izuku, please take your friend and take him to the infirmary. In 15 minutes the effects will wear off. The black-haired boy grabbed Shinso and retreated. Izuku, and you guys? Referring to the rest. Izuku, please disperse my class and I want to go to the dining room. Everyone started to retreat in fear of ending up like Shinso if they made him angry. Izuku, well, who's hungry? He said, looking at his class starting to head to the dining room, followed by his classmates, Tagaru and Jiroda, still watching Nito. 3 weeks later. After that incident there were no more problems. They were already in their last hour of classes with midnight to go out and have the week free to practice. Then the bell is heard. Midnight, okay, young people, that's all. Please take care of yourselves and practice hard for the festival. He said, leaving the room. Everyone was getting ready to leave, but Izuku stands in front with a box and says, Izuku, could you guys gather here please? Everyone saw Izuku holding a box and started going to where he was. Tetsu, what happened, Aizu bro? Kendo, why do you call us Izuku? Izuku, I called you to show you this. He said to open and show some notebooks with numbers from 13 to 18. The surprised boys asked him. Oh, Izuku, what are those notebooks? Izuku, well guys, you'll see. Izuku told them about his mania for writing down quirks and that those notebooks are the point of view of his quirks. Of course, everyone was curious about what Izuku wrote about them. Izuku, there are 4 of you in each notebook. Since you are going to practice for a week, why don't you review in these notebooks what you can improve in the week? Izuku began to hand out the notebooks and the boys began to group together in groups of 4 to see what Izuku wrote about them, being surprised by the detailed information and some techniques they can implement, and some improvements he can make to suit him. Yui/Reiko, amazing. They said along with the other students to find ways to use their quirk that they themselves had no thought of. They were all thinking about testing the techniques they read in the notebooks. Izuku, okay guys, I'll leave you the notebooks. I'm leaving. Today is Katsudon Friday. He said to leave the classroom and go home. 1 week later. All of the 1B players were in the locker room. With the men, they were changing and talking. Tetsu, I want to try my new techniques now. Always, it took me a while to learn them, I had to call Izuku a few times. Tagaru, but it was worth it. With the women, they were arguing. Setsuna, I wanted to use the suit upgrades that Izuku-kun made for us. They all glared at her for referring to Izuku that way. Kendo, it can't be avoided, it's to be on equal terms with everyone. Pony, Izuku will surely win, but I won't be left behind. She said excitedly, but Kendo asked. Kendo, when did you learn to speak so fluently? Pony, Izuku helped me during breaks. So another discussion began. Everyone had already changed and were in the room ready to leave with the other classes. Then Present Mike began to call the sections. Present Mike, Let's all welcome Class A who survived the villain's attack. Everyone in the audience started screaming with excitement. Class A came out with Todoroki in front, followed by the rest, Lida and Bakugo arrogant as always. Present Mike, now welcome Class B, also survivors of the attack, with their president who led both sections during the attack. Let's give him a big ovation. The entire audience cheered the students. Izuku, this will be fun, he said, coming out of the tunnel with his other companions. Chapter 11, Obstacle Course and Sports Festival 3. After the other classes were introduced, the +18 heroine Midnight appeared, causing the male sector to blush strongly. The girls looked at the men with displeasure, but those from Class B and some from A looked at Izuku, but he didn't even flinch at Midnight. Not because he didn't find her attractive, but because he could see two heroines behind her in the stands looking at him threateningly, to which he could only think with fear. Izuku, now what did I do? Midnight, okay, young people, before we start, let's hear a few words from our best first-year student. Izuku, who could it be? Bakugo, what the hell, what am I going to say now? Nito, I will leave Class B on top with my speech, ha 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 ha. They said in their thoughts. Midnight, let's give a big round of applause for young Midorilla. Izuku, huh? Bakugo, damn. Midnight, young man goes up to give his speech to everyone. Izuku, still confused, goes up and stands in front of everyone, while with Present Mike and Aizawa. Present Mike, Aizawa, you did tell him about the speech, right? Watching Izuku climb up confused. Aizawa, I think so. Present Mike just looked at his partner with a drop of sweat. With Izuku he was in front of everyone and started saying. Izuku, well, this took me by surprise, but I want to say that I will give my all for this festival, and I hope the same for all of you. Don't hold back, because I won't. I want all of us to give our all and show why we are here plus. All ultra. Izuku came down from the stage and headed to his companions. Kendo, it wasn't bad. Izuku, I just said the first thing that came to mind. Midnight, now we'll choose the events with this. He said to bring up a roulette wheel and start spinning. Midnight, the first test will be an obstacle course. In this race they will have to reach the finish line overcoming a series of obstacles that will be on the track. The first 40 to arrive go to the next round. Now everyone goes to the starting line. With that said, everyone went to the starting line to get ready. Izuku, is it just me or is it really cold in here? Nito, I have cold feet. At that point they looked down and saw a kind of mist coming out of Todoroki. Izuku understood what he was up to and warned his companions who were on alert. Midnight, everybody ready. At that a red light turns on. Midnight, get ready. Yellow light, green light. Midnight, yeah. Izuku and his companions jumped up, preventing their legs from freezing, and began to run. Todoroki slipped out and Bakugo made loud explosions, hurting those around him. With Izuku, who was running, he was not in the lead, nor did he use his grimoire since he did not see it necessary yet. Suddenly he saw some 0-point robots blocking the way. Present Mike, the first obstacle is the robots from hell. How will they overcome this obstacle? Izuku, they sure know how to spend money. I hope they spend it safely too. He said, to see how Todoroki froze the robots and Katsuki blew them up. Everyone saw an opening and ran to where Todoroki froze them. Todoroki, I wouldn't freeze them when they were unbalanced. He said so the robots would start to fall, raising some dust. Todoroki just smiled but saw someone come out of the dust. Todoroki, who? He said that he saw Izuku come out with his grimoire at his side. Todoroki, TSK. Todoroki quickened his pace with his eyes. With Izuku he had improved his speed, managing to pass before the robots fell silent. Izuku, I saw the opportunity and took it. Izuku continued running. The improvement would continue for at least 2 minutes, then he dodged an explosion from Bakugo. Bakugo, get out of here, nerd. He said to continue, leaving Izuku behind, which he did not take seriously and continued moving forward to find a large precipice. Present Mike, you've reached the second obstacle, the fall of doom. If you fall off the cliff you'll be disqualified. Izuku, okay, this will be easy. With that said, he improved his strength and agility, beginning to jump from catch to catch. Present mic. 2 students from Class A and 1 from Class B are passing by quickly. Bakugo was in the air with his explosions and Todoroki creating a path of ice. Izuku, those two don't even seem to break a sweat, he said as he jumped from pill to pill. Present mic. The 2 students from Class A have already passed the precipice and are now in the mine zone. Don't worry, the mines aren't lethal, but they can make you wet your pants. Izuku, hearing that, quickened his pace, and when he crossed he reached the mined area. Izuku, those 2 are already way ahead of me, unless... Izuku smiled maniacally, and the silver-haired boy got the chills. More participants were arriving and watched Izuku dig up the mines and group them in one place. Some of Izuku's companions saw him and followed. They knew that Izuku was planning something big, and with that amount of mines it was better to get out of the way, but the person he wanted didn't arrive. A silver-haired man appears running in the last places since he didn't specialize in speed. Tetsu, Izuku bro, what happened? Why are you on your last legs? Izuku, well, my dear friend Tetsu was waiting for you to get with you to the first places. Tetsu points his finger at himself. Tetsu, how are we going to do it? Izuku just smiled. That smile gave Tetsu a bad feeling. Izuku, come with me. He said to take him where the mines were together. Tetsu was already understanding Izuku's plan and began to tremble. Tetsu, look Izuku bro, if we hurry we can still get there on foot, he said, trying to save himself, but Izuku grabbed him by the shoulder. Izuku, come on Tetsu, if we can do this we'll get to the top spots. Tetsu thought about what Izuku had said, and why they were already the last ones, so he just resigned himself to his fate. Tetsu, okay. Izuku, okay, don't worry, if something happens I'll heal you, now activate your quirk. With that, Tetsu activated his quirk, standing in front of the explosives, and Izuku climbed onto his back. Tetsu, this will leave a mark, he said to jump, and boom! Everyone looked at where that explosion came from. Present mic, what happened? Who made that explosion? Wait a minute, what is that? A bird? To plan? And no, it's the 2 students from Class B who were in last place. Tetsu and Izuku were passing through the air, passing everyone. Todoroki, seeing this, began to create ice to pass, and Bakugo began to use his explosions without caring if he activated any mine near someone. With Izuku and Tetsu. Tetsu, Captain, we are starting to lose altitude, what are we doing? Izuku, I'll open my arms so they can catch as many explosions as possible when you crash. Tetsu, of course it's not you. Izuku, I'll buy you all the food you want after the race. Tetsu, deal. Tetsu opened his arms and slammed into the ground, activating the mines that were beneath him, causing another explosion. Boom! Although the explosion was less strong than the first, it was enough for them to gain momentum. Present mic, these guys are crazy, they repeated the technique and again got a huge advantage. With the explosion caused, Izuku and Tetsu managed to overcome the minefield and began to fall again. Tetsu, brace for impact. Tetsu hit the ground face first, knocking Izuku down, starting to roll on the floor, but they quickly got up. Tetsu, I'm going to have a headache tomorrow, he said, rubbing his face. Izuku pulled himself together and watched as Todoroki and Bakugo approached at full speed. Izuku, Tetsu, it's not time to think, it's time to run, he said, so the 2 of them started running at full speed. Tetsu, run and don't look back. Bakugo and Todoroki were already catching up with them, and the 4 of them entered the tunnel. Present mic, and the winner is Midorilla. Chapter 12, Battles 1 and Sports Festival 4. Ending the cavalry battle in which Izuku and his team, which were Tetsu, Kendo, Ibara and him, took first place, their only drawback was Todoroki, who, along with Lida and his team, performed an incredibly fast technique. Izuku was able to save his ribbon by blinding Todoroki, preventing him from seeing where he had it. Now the friends were resting. They had been given a period of time before starting the fighting. They were eating at a stand. Kendo, when the blue-haired guy used that technique I really thought he would take your ribbon off. Izuku, you have so little faith in me. Nito, I couldn't go to the fights, he said dejectedly, with some bandages on his arm and head since he provoked Bakugo in the middle of the competition. Izuku, who told you to throw an explosion in that madman's face? Nito, but it was worth it, now I understand you, it's relaxing to hit that Muslim. Kendo, well, leaving that aside, who do you think we'll have to fight? It could be against anyone here. Tetsu, as long as I don't have to face Izuku, everything's fine. Kendo, how little confidence Tetsu. Nito, what happened to manhood? Izuku drank a box of apple juice accompanied by a Ganzito while listening to the conversation. With the boys. Tetsu, if it were you, who would you like to fight against? I, on equal terms, or Izuku, who can leave you blind, dizzy, and weakened all at the same time, he said while counting with his fingers. Kendo, if you put it like that, Izuku is a bad opponent for anyone. Nito, can you beat Izuku? They began to discuss plans on how to confront Izuku while the aforementioned just watched in amusement. Izuku, I want another hook, he said in a low voice to stand up and head to the store to buy another one, but a homeless man with a white Pikachu on his shoulder stopped him. Aizawa, Midorilla. Izuku turned around and looked at the person calling him and said, Izuku, sorry, I left my Pokemon at home, it will be for next time. He said to continue his way to the store, but a scarf tied him up. Izuku turned around again and saw Aizawa with a marked vein. Aizawa, the director wants to talk to you. Then they went to one of the stadium's passageways where there was no one. Nizu, student Midorilla, I would like to ask you please. Izuku, what do you need, director? Nizu, if you can refrain from using your grimoire of curses in battles. Izuku, why is that? Everyone will go at 100% of their power against me, and why do I have to hold back? Nizu, you see, young man, the sports festival is for the students to show their progress that they have had. But if we put them to fight against you, it would be enough for you to just dizzy him and leave him blind to get him out of the combat arena. That is why I ask you if you can refrain from using it. I am not going to order you to do so since it is your quirk and in combat you can use it as you wish, but I ask you if you could refrain from using it. Izuku, okay director, I'll take your word for it. I won't use it, at least not against everyone. I only asked to use it against Bakugo and Todoroki. Director Nizu knew that Izuku and Bakugo didn't get along. He had done some research on Bakugo since he knew that he was All Might's heir, but the more he searched, the more surprised he was. There were several charges against his name: damage to infrastructure, use of quirks without a license, he abused others. Which led him to ask him, how did All Might give the OFA to someone like him? On the part of young Bakugo, he already knew why he wanted to use his grimoire against him, but why against Todoroki? That's what I thought. Nizu, why does he want to use his grimoire against student Todoroki? Izuku, I know he's holding back and I want to use everything in me to make him reconsider. Nizu was surprised Izuku wanted to help Todoroki in the middle of the battle when they are opponents. Nizu, you would have been a better carrier, he said in a whisper to himself. Izuku, excuse me. Nizu, nothing of my kind, you have my approval to use it in those fights, but as I told you, you can use it as you like, I'm not forcing you, he said to disappear between Aizawa's scarf. Aizawa, I look forward to seeing how you perform, he said as he began to leave. Aizawa didn't like the idea of making Izuku hold back, but the director was right. At the moment Izuku is ahead of the others, then he hears one of the voices that irritates him the most over the speakers. Present mic. Yeah, all contestants return to the stadium, we have a surprise for you. After a few minutes the participants were in the stadium, and their companions were in the stands supporting them. Midnight, before we start, since most of you are from the hero course and the student Hitoshi Shinso also has his own costume, we will let you use your hero costumes. Surprise. Everyone was happy as they felt more comfortable in their outfits. Izuku, sorry, mine is still under repair. Midnight, Izuku, she said, looking at him with predatory eyes, while two heroines and some students from A and B looked at Midnight with murderous eyes and a sinister aura. Midnight, in that case, wear something you feel comfortable with. Then he approaches Izuku. Midnight, you can also go out shirtless if it bothers you. Leaving Izuku blushing and Mirko about to kick the teacher, being stopped by Ryukyu. Izuku, oh okay. He said nervously. Midnight, okay, everyone go change, in 15 minutes the fights begin. Everyone went to get the hero suits. Izuku had a change of clothes in his locker, but he was also going to the support course to record some things to better protect himself. 15 minutes later. All the students were returning one by one. They were entering showing their costume. Almost all of them were there. Only one was missing. Midnight, where is Midorilla? He said, but none of the boys had any idea where he was. But then they heard footsteps approaching, and from the tunnel Izuku was revealed with his suit was a combination of casual clothes and several pieces of protection. Izuku, I'm here. He said so that everyone was surprised by the suit that Izuku is wearing. Midnight, but well, let's start with the fights. He said, regaining his composure. Present Mike, the first match will be between Midorilla from Class B against Shinso from Class H. The aforementioned were heading to the combat arena while the others retreated to the stands. Ready, Midnight, I speak. Midnight, okay, you know the rules. No low blows, no attacks to kill, no weapons unless they pertain to the use of your quirks. That said, begin? After saying those words, Shinso took distance from Izuku. He was afraid that he would use his book again. Izuku, don't worry, I won't use my curses, just this one. He said to take out his book of improvements. Shinso continued to distance himself. He knew that his quirk would be of no use against Izuku, so all he had left was a hand-to-hand battle. He thought that Izuku depended on his books and that he didn't know how to fight hand-to-hand, so he launched himself at him. Shinso, I will win this battle, he said as he headed towards Izuku. But if he had asked any student from Class A or B, he would have known that hand-to-hand combat was Izuku's specialty. Shinso threw a punch at Izuku's face. But Izuku saw it amused. He watched as Shinso positioned himself. He noticed that he was a beginner in hand-to-hand combat, so he was quick to respond by blocking the blow and grabbing him by his suit, causing him to lose his balance and slamming him against the floor. Shinso, ah, he said as he fell, but rolled immediately to the side to take distance. Shinso, it's definitely not fair. Izuku, what's not fair? Shinso, why are there people like you who are born with an incredible quirk while I have to endure being called a villain? Izuku, incredible quirk? Shinso, being able to do everything you do, many would like your gift. He said to rush against Izuku, trying to connect a blow against him. But Izuku simply grabbed him by the wrist, immobilizing him and advancing, giving him a knee to the stomach, causing Shinto to kneel. Izuku, sorry, but I think you're confused. The fact that my quirk is strong right now is because I trained it until I was exhausted, until my muscles hurt. They told me that I wasn't going to be a hero, that I would only serve as support, and that I should give up. He said to throw a punch at Shinso's chest, leaving him without air and throwing him to the edge of the arena. Izuku began to walk towards Shinso while speaking. Izuku, the difference between you and me is that I didn't care what people told me. I fought to achieve my dream, but you got stuck in their words. You say they called you a villain, and what do you care what others think? If your dream was to be a hero, you would have fought to achieve it, but you simply gave up and resented others. Shinso was catching his breath as he stood up. Shinso, you don't know anything about us. Izuku, you either, because at no time did I hear your classmates or anyone call you a villain. I only hear words of support from them. If you simply feel sorry for others for their quirks and don't value or train yours, you just waste it, that's it. Izuku disappeared and at great speed appeared in front of Shinso. Izuku, pathetic. He said to throw a strong blow at him, knocking him out of the sand. Shinso was thinking about what he said and realized he sent others for their peculiarities. Although he didn't like to admit it, he behaved like a perfect idiot. Then he sees an outstretched hand. Looking up, he realized that Izuku was reaching out his hand to help him up. Izuku, but it's never too late to change, train your gift and become a great hero. I hope to see you with us being a hero, Shinso. Shinso, thank you, Midorilla. Midnight, the first fight ended with the winner being Izuku Midorilla. Chapter 13, Battle 2 and Sports Festival 5. After the first battle, the following ones continued in which people performed excellently, but with Izuku and his friends. Kendo, the winner of the next battle will be the one you will face Izuku. Izuku watched Zero and Todoroki prepare to start the fight. Izuku, let's see how much power he will show, he said, intrigued, to look at the sand and see a black-haired man in front of a two-colored. Present mic, this battle will be between two students from Class A. Give Todoroki a loud ovation. Present mic, and his serious opponent. Midnight, okay, students, you already know the rules, so let's get started. He said so that Zero would immediately throw his ribbons towards Todoroki, trapping him. Todoroki seemed not to react, so Zero immediately tried to get him off the platform to win, but then Todoroki raises his head, throwing an intimidating look. The tapes were instantly frozen and destroyed. Todoroki, I'll finish this quickly, I'm not in the mood for games, he said to start generating ice. Zero knew what was going to happen, so he launched himself at Todoroki quickly, but Todoroki generated a large amount of ice everywhere, trapping Zero. Present mic, but what happened? Todoroki generated the Titanic iceberg, trapping his opponent. Midnight gives the results. Everyone looks at the heroine, but she is shivering from the cold. Midnight, the winner is everything Roki. Audience, woha. Everyone was excited by this display of power. Present mic, okay, the next fight will start in 10 minutes, so we can clear the platform. With that said, some people in the stands got up to go to the bathroom or buy more food. Izuku stood up. Pony, where are you going, Izuku? Izuku, I'm going to the bathroom for a moment. Having said this, he began to head to the bathrooms to wet his head to think better about what he was going to do, while talking to himself. Izuku, against Todoroki it will be difficult, I will have to start with everything. But then he hears a voice behind him that takes him out of his thoughts. Todoroki, I hope you don't underestimate me, Midoriya. Izuku stops his steps without turning around and Todoroki continues. Todoroki, I hope you attack me with everything and don't underestimate me. Izuku, without turning to look at him, answers. Izuku, first of all, let me thank you for helping us in the attack of the USJ. Secondly, I will attack with the same force with which you attacked me, so do not underestimate me, Todoroki, and use all your power, he said as he continued walking, leaving Todoroki a bit annoyed. Izuku continued walking, sinking back into his thoughts, but someone hugged him from behind, bringing him out of his trance. Mirko, hello Izuku, I hope you are ready for your next battle. Izuku turned around and saw two heroines he knew very well. Izuku, what are you doing here, Rumi Ryuku? Mirko, we just came to wish you luck, but knowing you, you will surely destroy the ice cream. Ryukyu, calm down Mirko, but if we came to wish you luck, by the way, where were you going? Izuku, I was on my way to get wet to wake up for the fight. Mirko, you will surely win though. Why didn't you use your curses in your first encounter? You would have easily won if you had used it from the beginning, she said with doubt, accompanied by Ryuko, who was also doubtful as to why. Izuku, well, the director asked me if I could avoid using it so that my opponents could show their skills. Ryuko, well, it makes sense since the heroes have to see the potential of the students to send internships. Izuku, internships? Ryuko, well, after the festival the professional heroes who have agencies send out offers for students to spend 2 weeks with them and get field experience. Izuku, then you too can send requests. Mirko, well? Ryuko, the only one of the two that can send is me, since this rabbit practically invaded my agency and made my office her room. Mirko, but your office is very big, I don't know what you're complaining about. Mirko said, smiling, and they continued talking pleasantly, but a dwarf was spying on them and cursing the green-haired boy. Mineta, damn how that stand can be with such beauties, he said with jealousy, and left the place to tell the others. With Izuku he was saying goodbye to the heroines, going in to wet his head, and as he was leaving he was intercepted by the number 2 hero. Endeavor, so you are Midoriya. Izuku, well, that's what they call me, you want hero number 2. Those words bothered the Human Torch a little. Endeavor, don't think too much because you're going to face my perfect creation. Izuku, you mean Todoroki, By any chance he's not your son? Endeavor, yes, he is destined to surpass All Might, but first he will destroy you. You will be a step in his rise to the top. When he accepts his fire side, he will be unstoppable. There will be no one. Endeavor kept talking, but Izuku just said, Izuku, how stupid. Endeavor, sorry. Endeavor was shocked by Izuku's insult. Izuku, from what you tell me, you don't see Todoroki as your son but as a tool to achieve a stupid dream, a dream that you couldn't achieve due to your lack of effort. Endeavor, how dare you? Izuku, you say that he doesn't accept his fire side. I imagine it's because of you. Listen to Eternal number 2. If Todoroki accepts his side, it will be so that he can achieve his dream, not to reach yours. Izuku started walking, leaving Endeavor boiling in rage, telling him some last words. Izuku, your dream is something so pathetic, perfect for a pathetic person like you hero number 2. Izuku continued walking until he heard over the speaker. Present mic. The platform is now ready. We apologize for the delay. Now the participants are called for the battle. Izuku started walking towards the preparation places. Minutes later, he was getting ready to go out, and then he listened to the presentations. Present mic. This battle will be between the best of each Class A and B, representing Class A Shoto Todoroki. Audience, Woha. Present mic, and the student of the grimoires, the student Izuku Midoriya, showing face for Class B. Audience, Woha. The two fighters come out of the tunnels and stand on the platform looking at each other. Then a Midnight covered in a blanket spoke. Midnight, you know the rules, and Todoroki tries to keep your attacks within the platform. Todoroki, okay. Midnight, then begin. Izuku quickly took out his enhancement grimoire. But then Todoroki froze everything, trapping Izuku inside a large block of ice, surprising everyone. Todoroki, it's over, he said, exhaling a cold air, to start walking towards the exit. Midnight was going to announce Todoroki as the winner, but crack. That sound was heard from the block of ice that Izuku had, but it continued to be heard. Crack, crack. Suddenly everyone watched in amazement as the ice began to crack. Upon seeing this, Todoroki began to send ice to reinforce the broken parts, but before he could do so, blam! The ice burst, freeing Izuku. Izuku, wow, that was refreshing, he said with a smile. Izuku, well, let's start, he said, to disappear in a blur and appear next to Todoroki, throwing a punch to his face. Todoroki tried to cover himself with ice, but the one he managed to make was not strong enough, so it broke under the impact of the blow but reduced the damage. Todoroki, damn, he said, but saw how Izuku, without wasting time, began to attack him, so Todoroki dodged and blocked as he could, and that he saw an opportunity, raising a great wall between them. Izuku, this glass wall won't save you, you know, he said, to throw punches at the wall, starting to break it. Todoroki took all the distance he could. He began to generate more ice, preparing pillars to throw at him as soon as he knocked down the wall, which he was achieving. Boom, 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 boom. The blows to the wall were heard, and suddenly the wall broke, raising a kind of fog, but they managed to see a silhouette that was heading towards Todoroki, to which he began to throw the ice pillars in his direction. But Izuku only dodged it without problems, so Todoroki raised another ice wall, staying very far from the edge, began to generate a large amount of ice to make another large-scale attack, but in that Izuku screams, Izuku, that won't do anything to me, and you know it. Todoroki, I will defeat you with just this power. You should take this seriously. Izuku, if you only use your 50%, then 50% is what you'll get from me, he said, to immediately launch himself against Todoroki, who continued to reinforce the ice wall, preventing Izuku from knocking it down. Todoroki, I won't use that bastard's power. Izuku, so why do you want to be a hero? The day they need your fire and you don't want to use it, you will let people die because you don't want to use your power. Todoroki couldn't answer. Izuku, everyone in this place came to give their all to be heroes, and you think that with only 50% you will achieve something? You're just insulting us. He said, so that with one blow he could destroy the wall. Izuku, tell me, Todoroki, whose dream is it to be a hero? Is it yours or that second rate? That power doesn't belong to that bastard, it's only yours. You were born with it, and it's up to you how to use it. so tell me what you answer, Todoroki. Todoroki at that moment understood he couldn't be a hero if he didn't give his all. He wanted to be a hero who saved everyone. He wanted to help others. At what point did he let his goal change? Todoroki, Midoriya, you are seriously crazy helping your opponent. You are right, I have been insulting them, so allow me to remedy it. At that point the temperature starts to rise. Todoroki, Midoriya, I won't have anything left after this. Let's settle everything in this attack. Izuku, sounds good to me, Todoroki. Izuku summoned his grimoire of curses. Midoriya, damn, I can't blind him or make him dizzy. I'd risk the attack reaching other people. Damn it, all that's left is to take it head on, he said in his thoughts. Midnight detengan cementos, this is out of control. He said to tear his suit, and seeds began to form a wall between the two. Izuku weakened Todoroki's quirk, causing him mental and physical fatigue. At the same time he had improved himself in every sense of strength, resistance, speed, everything, but Todoroki's attack was still powerful, so he was still going to receive it head on. Todoroki, Midoriya. Izuku, Todoroki. The two of them launched themselves, provoking. Everyone was almost sent flying by the explosion wave but managed to stay in place, something that Midnight and Cementos couldn't do because they were close to the explosion. After everyone recovered, Present Mike spoke. Present Mike, what kind of monsters are those that feed them? Midnight, who won? The talking hero asked. Midnight, the question is who survived. He said to start looking at the platform looking for the winner, in that he managed to see a very hurt, burned-haired boy standing in the middle of the arena, but when he concentrated more he managed to see further ahead a bicolor in a deplorable state embedded in a wall outside the platform. Midnight, the winner is Midoriya. Chapter 14, Battle 3 and Sports Festival 6. After Izuku's fight against Todoroki, they were quickly transferred to the infirmary to be treated by Recovery Girl. Recovery, kids today are crazy, he said, looking at the two students bandaged and lying on stretchers. Aizawa was in the room and asked the old woman. Aizawa, do you think Midoriya can participate in the next match? Recovery Girl, you'd have to wait for him to wake up and tell you himself. In that they announced the next fight, which will be Bakugo vs Uraraka, and some more battles to decide who will face Izuku in the final. Aizawa, well, I'll be back when I finish the fights. If Midoriya wakes up and thinks he can fight, the fight will take place. If not, then whoever wins the other fights will be the winner of the sports festival. Recovery Girl, well, that's for you to see, but I'm getting ready to receive the girl. Every time that brat Bakugo is involved, I end up with injuries here. Aizawa was not going to deny that. The truth is that if it weren't for being All Might's heir, he would have expelled him a long time ago. If you're wondering how he knows, it's because all the trusted heroes of the UA knows, because Nizu informed them Bakugo's behavior was simply horrible in his opinion, and he wasn't interested in saving people. Just finishing off the villain without caring who gets hurt. Aizawa, well, I'm leaving. He said so that Aizawa would leave the infirmary and go with Present Mike so that he wouldn't be bothering him. While in the infirmary, Recovery Girl was sorting some things out and saying, Recovery Girl, stop pretending to be faint. Izuku, I discovered myself. Izuku said in pain but a little amused. Recovery Girl, and what do you say, kid, you're going to participate in the next fight? The old woman spoke while folding some bandages. Izuku, yes, I have to teach a Muslim a lesson. Izuku felt the burns still burning. Recovery Girl, are you sure to fight in your state? Izuku, don't worry, Recovery Sensei. He said to take out his grimoire and start healing himself. Recovery Girl, I think I'll hire you as an assistant. The old woman spoke when she saw how some of Izuku's burns were disappearing while others only reduced in size. Izuku, I'm flattered by your offer, but this is causing me great mental strain, so I won't be able to. Izuku was currently very tired due to the side effect of the recovery quirk, and also because he used his grimoires too much in his battle against Todoroki. Recovery Girl, then you won't be able to fight at 100% in your battle, since the side effect of my quirk is like mental wear and tear, since it makes you feel too tired. Izuku, at this point I think I can only use my grimoire twice. Recovery Girl, you'll see. he said as he stood up and left the infirmary. Izuku, now what will I do to win? Bakugo will surely come with everything. He whispered in a tired tone, but then the door opened, revealing his friends from Class B. Tetsu, Izuku bro, it seems that you are fine now, he said, looking at Izuku, who had almost no wounds left. Kendo, you worried us too much. Pony, Izuku-kun, don't scare us like that again. The girls, upon hearing how Pony referred to Izuku, looked at her accusingly. Setsuna, what do you mean, Izuku and Pony? He said with a smile, but there was a hint of jealousy in his voice. Pony, that's what he let me call him. I asked him in our study sessions. They were all going to ask questions, but then a blonde guy spoke up. Nito, well, then we'll see that. First things first, Izuku, you'll fight in the next round. Now you'll be fine physically, but we know the mental wear and tear that fight must have caused you. Saying that, everyone looked at Izuku. Izuku, yes, I will participate after all. Who will represent Class B the most? Everyone was happy with Izuku's words. They encouraged him and began to leave so Izuku could rest, which he was about to do, but with a kick the door opened, revealing two heroines with worried faces. Ryuko, good thing you're okay. It was reckless what you did in the fight, he said in a scolding tone. Mirko, well, you were crazy to help the summer palette overcome her traumas in the middle of the fight. If you're wondering how they knew that, it's because their quirks are mutation type and their senses are enhanced, allowing them to hear at great distances. Ryuko, and on top of that, you throw yourself into the fire. Izuku, don't worry girls, I'm fine, I'm preparing for the next fight, sorry for making you worry, he said calmly. Izuku, throughout the year that he knew the two heroines, had begun to develop feelings towards them that he did not say for fear of ruining the friendship they had. Ryuko, your battle will begin soon, get ready, Rumi, and I will support you from the stands, he said to start to withdraw with Mirko. When the two heroines left, Izuku rested for a while, but then you could hear applause and cheers from other battles that were taking place outside. Since he couldn't sleep because of the noise, he decided to go for a walk to clear his head a bit. Izuku, sometimes I wish I was a cloud, he said as he looked at the clouds through the hallway windows, but then he heard a sob. Heading to where the noise came from, he saw a brunette sitting on a bench while crying. Momo, sniff, my dad sniff. He was right, I'm not good at being a sniff heroine. Izuku listened to what he said and approached. Izuku, and why wouldn't you serve? Momo gets scared and saw Izuku, who was standing in front of her. Momo, Midoriya, what are you doing here? He said with a still trembling voice. Izuku, I just went out for a walk to clear my head and I found you trying to give up on your dream. Momo, but I'm weak, I couldn't even get past the first round. Izuku, don't say that, you have a fantastic quirk, you can create anything, you have great talent, and from what I've heard, you are one of the smartest in the UA, don't give up just because you lose to fight. Momo spoke a little calmer. Momo, then what can I do? Izuku, train, investigate how to improve, take your gift to the maximum, you can achieve great things if you set your mind to it, simply take this defeat to improve in the future. At that moment, Momo was thinking about Izuku's words. She also thought about all the effort she put in to get to where she was today. For a moment she felt stupid for almost throwing all that effort into the trash. Momo, thanks Midoriya. She said that once she had recovered she was going to speak again, but she heard. Present mic, the final battle is decided. It will be between the students Katsuki Bakugo versus Midoriya Izuku, those mentioned. Prepare for the fight. Izuku, well, Miss Yayorozu, I'm leaving to prepare for my battle. I hope we talk more next time. Momo, I'll be waiting for you, Midoriya. Izuku, don't worry, but just tell me Izuku. Momo, then you just call me Momo too. Izuku, okay Momo, see you later. He said to leave the girl with determination and desire to improve. Izuku, well, let's get ready for battle, he said. But he was literally in the worst condition. In his current state he could only use 2 of the basic improvements. He could only think about whether he was going to improve resistance and strength, or speed and strength. He had already arrived at the locker room. This time he would simply put on his UA sportswear since his other clothes ended up burned. Once he changed he prepared for when they called him. Present mic, This is the final. Here everything is decided by one side with a quirk that suits his personality, and has no mercy on anyone, the student Katsuki Bakugo. People did not cheer Bakugo because in all the fights he always went too far with his opponents, even leaving a girl Uraraka in serious condition, which led to certain murmurs like, "He's crazy, is he really going to be a hero?" and others. Present Mike, and on the other side, the student who represents Class B, either fire nor ice will prevent the student Midoriya Izuku from standing up to represent his class. Audience, WOOAHHH. Everyone was cheering for Izuku, which annoyed Bakugo greatly. When they were both on the platform, Midnight speaks. Midnight, okay, you know the rules and I don't want anything crazy now, get started. He said to start the fight. Izuku quickly took out his grimoire and improved himself, looking closely at Bakugo, who immediately rushed against Izuku with his explosions, who was still waiting for Bakugo, who upon arriving tries to give him an explosion with his right, which Izuku dodged by grabbing his hand and with a key throwing him to the ground. Bakugo with an explosion quickly gets up. "Bakugo, Deku, you bastard!" he said to start the attack against Izuku again, but before arriving, with his explosions he changed his direction, taking Izuku by surprise, who received the explosion directly sending him rolling, but he quickly recovered, watching as another explosion headed towards him. Izuku, looks like the dog learned some new tricks. He immediately advanced against Bakugo, who tried to give him another explosion but received a punch in the chest taking away his air. Izuku was about to hit him again, but Bakugo threw an explosion to the ground, raising a curtain of dust. When the curtain dispersed, Bakugo was already standing, breathing heavily. "Izuku, the great Bakugo Katsuki, escaping, where is your pride now?" he said, trying to provoke Bakugo, which he achieved. "Bakugo, damn Deku," he said angrily and lunged at Izuku again, but this time he was running while storing sweat in the palm of his hands. Izuku had to finish this quickly as the upgrades were starting to run out. Although he normally has no problems fighting without them, at this point he was completely exhausted. Bakugo threw an explosion at him, which Izuku dodged, but his shoulder received part of the explosion, so he decided to start hitting. "Izuku, my turn," he said to start hitting Bakugo, not letting him leave. But his blows were no longer as strong, he was already tired, the improvement was already disappearing, something that Bakugo noticed, which smiled maniacally. "Bakugo, what's wrong, Deku, are you tired?" he said to throw an explosion at him, which he was unable to dodge due to exhaustion, sending him rolling. "Izuku, damn, I reached my limit," he said to realize that his improvements were no longer there. He was now very exhausted both physically and mentally. He tried to stand up, but another explosion came and another, and so it continued. Bakugo attacked him without waiting for him to stand up. He showed no mercy, just a deranged smile, raising a lot of dust due to the explosions. Izuku was already on the verge of unconsciousness, but he heard Bakugo's words. "Bakugo, I heard that there are two heroines who are very attached to you. When they see you in this state, they will prefer me, and we will have fun all night. Maybe I will record it and send you the video when we do it. Ha 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 ha. Now you will see that you are just a damn Deku. I will take away everything you want." The two heroines in the stands could hear that, only made them feel disgust and repulsion. Mirko was holding back the urge to jump and break the Muslim's bones, and Ryuko was also wanting to hit the Muslim until she was tired. But they were more worried about how Izuku was, since they couldn't see much because of the raised dust. Bakugo was laughing like crazy, scaring the spectators. Midnight was about to end the match because she thought it was very dangerous for the men to continue the fight, but the dust cleared and a cold-eyed Izuku was seen, showing anger. Izuku was on the verge of unconsciousness, so he did not measure his words well and said, "Izuku, Bakugo, I can handle you making fun of me, hitting me, bothering me, but..." The two grimoires came out of Izuku. The one with improvements began to shine, while the one with curses was covered by a kind of dark matter. "Izuku, I will not tolerate you touching what is mine." At that, the two grimoires began to change, leaving everyone impressed with their new appearances. Improvements. Courses. Everyone in the stadium was surprised, Bakugo too, but because of his pride he spoke. "Bakugo, and if your little books changed, you'll still lose, damn Deku," he said, but Izuku disappeared. "Bakugo, where?" "Izuku, here." Bakugo turned around seeing how Izuku was going to kick him, so he covered himself with his arm. A serious mistake because when his arm hit it made a sound. Crack. Bakugo Aya. Izuku had broken Bakugo's arm, but he didn't stop there as he continued hitting. The stadium was silent, only the sound of crack crack. With each hit everyone could hear Bakugo's bones breaking. At that Izuku grabs him by the neck. Izuku, every damn word has a cost and I came to collect your debt. But Bakugo didn't respond. Izuku had dislocated his jaw with a blow before. Midnight recovered from the shock and was going to stop the fight, but blam. He watched as Izuku slammed Bakugo into the ground and stood still. Present Mike, Midnight, how is everything there? Midnight approached and was surprised to see that Izuku had fainted. Standing up again, Lugo turned to see Bakugo and saw him a mess with bruises, body parts bent in positions impossible for a human. Then he says, Midnight, the GA winner is Izuku Midoriya. The scream shocked everyone. Audience, WOHHH. Chapter 15, Warning and Final Sports Festival. Everyone was happy about Izuku's victory, especially since no one liked the ashen-haired boy, although they couldn't help but feel a certain pity for the Muslim since his limbs were bent in unhealthy ways. On the platform, the aid robots were arriving to mobilize the wounded to the infirmary. Aizawa, Present Mike, Midnight, Nizu and All Might were watching this scene from a balcony. Clearly the Japanese Johnny Bravo was not happy, so he hurried to claim. All Might, Director, the behavior shown by the student Midoriya does not correspond to that of a hero. It is a danger for him to be in this institution. All the heroes present, including Nizu, thought. Hypocrite. All Might's attitude was too stupid in everyone's opinion. Nizu was already tired, so he just said, Nizu, I'll see what punishment I'll give him. Obviously Nizu would give him a punishment. Izuku had broken the bones of a student on international television. He couldn't leave him totally unpunished, although he wouldn't give him a hard one either, since he also managed to hear what Bakugo said to Izuku, and he felt disappointed, wondering again. Why the hell did All Might give the OFA to a person like Bakugo? All Might, Director, I demand the expulsion of that student. Nizu, hearing that he reached his limit. Nizu, silence, this is my academy, and I will see what punishment I will give him. You are the one who has the least word at the moment, Yagi, or have you already forgotten how many students your successor sent to the infirmary, or how many complaints of harassment there are against him? All Might remained silent. He knew all the complaints that Nizu sent him were directed at his successor, but he always said that he was in his rebellious era. Nizu, recovery. Once the student Izuku and Bakugo recover, tell them to go to my office. Recovery, understood. Well, I'm leaving because I have work to do. He said to leave. All Might also left, annoyed, leaving only Aizawa, Present Mike, Midnight and Nizu. Aizawa, Director, why do you keep putting up with All Might's nonsense? The others were also curious if they were speaking sincerely. Present Mike was already fed up with Bakugo since he always interrupted his class with unnecessary comments, often saying that English was useless if he was only going to be in Japan and other things. With Midnight, Bakugo throughout the class would stop and stare at her body, although she was already used to it and didn't pay attention to it. She crossed her limit when he made advances on her twice, and on one of them he touched her thigh. Clearly she slapped him out of reflex and went to report him to the main, but only got a warning. Something outrageous, according to her. Nizu, seeing that everyone was waiting for his answer, sighed and said, Nizu, I'm not doing this for All Might's symbol of peace title if that's what you're thinking. I only promised Nana that I would support All Might in training his successor when he had one. But I'm already reaching my limit. I'll give young Bakugo one last chance if another complaint of aggression or harassment comes in. Report it and young Bakugo will be immediately expelled. Everyone and began to leave. In the infirmary, we find a green-haired man and a blonde-haired man each on their respective stretchers. Then Class B enters, some from Class A. Two heroines and the mothers of the respective wounded Inko had been supporting Izuku from the stands at his request. Inko, excuse me, what is the status of my son? Mitsuki, and mine. Recovery was looking at some leaves and spoke. Recovery, young Izuku just needs to rest. His quirks seems to have evolved, healing his wounds, he just needs to rest. After listening, all the students, the heroines and Inko let out a sigh of relief. Mitsuki, and mine, she said with a little concern since her son was bandaged, but she was not naive. She knew what her son was like, and she also knew Izuku. She knew that Bakugo had to insult something precious to Izuku, for him to leave him like that, so for her this was like, you asked for it. Since even she had grown tired of her son's attitude. Recovery. Well, I managed to put all his bones back in place, and with my quirk I accelerated his healing, but he will have to wear those bandages and casts for a week and a half. Mitsuki, understood. Well, I'm leaving. I imagine the academy will call me when my son wakes up. Recovery. Indeed, madam, the academy will call you when your son wakes up, the same as you, Mrs. Midoriya. Mitsuki began to leave with Inko, along with Class A and B. The heroines were going to leave, but then Nizu appears at the door. Nizu, excuse me, I have some business to discuss with you, please follow me to my office. The two heroines got nervous and began to follow the Area 51 experiment. Arriving at the office, the director sat at his desk and the heroines were standing in front of him. Nizu, anything to say? Said the rodent. Mirko/Ryukyu, about? The heroine said a little nervously. Nizu, well, I'll be more direct. Do you have any love relationship with young Midoriya? The two heroines were stunned, but Ryukyu speaks. Ryukyu, why the question, Nizu? Nizu, please know that I am an animal and my senses are superior to others. I clearly heard how young Bakugo provoked Midoriya, talking about two heroines who were attached to him. The heroines frowned as they remembered the words of the bomb with legs. Mirko, and why should it be us? He said defiantly. Nizu, please Mirko, don't beat me for the title of the smartest for nothing. Besides, it was obvious when you were worried to see the student's condition after the battle. The two heroines could no longer hide it. Ryukyu, let's say that Izuku is interested in me, but we are not boyfriends. Mirko, still? The heroine said in a whisper that Nizu heard, smiling, and said, Nizu, you don't have to worry. You know that since the quirks appeared, the laws changed. They indicate that marriages are legal as long as they are not more than 15 years old, and even though it is not very well seen, polygamy is also legal, so you will not have problems with me. I just wanted to clarify that. Mirko, so why the hell did you bring us here? She said, more relaxed, but with her same challenging tone as always. Nizu, I need your opinion about the new OFA wielder. That said, the heroines changed their expressions to serious ones, making the atmosphere heavy. They could also be said to have been Nana's students since they admired her, and were lucky enough to have Nana train them eventually. Their teachers told them about OFA. Nizu, well, the new bearer is the student. Mirko, speak fast, rat. He said in a demanding tone. Nizu, it's Katsuki Bakugo. Ryukyu/Mirko, HHH? The two had different expressions. Ryukyu was disappointed in All Might and Mirko was furious that her teacher's power is in someone like Bakugo. She considered him an idiot with a big ego. Mirko, you're saying that that idiot is the current bearer of the OFA? Nizu, exactly. Mirko started walking towards the exit. Nizu, Mirko, what are you going to do? The rat said, fearing that what he thinks will happen. Mirko, I will have that Muslim give me that power. If All Might cannot find a good successor, I will be the one to find someone who is worthy of carrying that power. Ryukyu was about to speak, but Nizu got ahead of him. Nizu, Mirko, you won't do that since you know that the OFA cannot be removed by force, and it seems that the OFA rejects young Bakugo as a carrier, so it will do him more harm than good if he continues with it. Ryukyu was also considering doing the same as Mirko, but she calmed herself down, and wanting to retire to rest and assimilate everything she said. Ryukyu, well, we won't say anything else, we'll leave. He said as he grabbed Mirko by the shoulders and began to drag her towards the exit. Ryukyu, by the way, tell Izuku to wait for my application to come to my agency. That surprised Nizu. Nizu, not that his agency was only for women. Ryukyu, I think I'll make an exception. He said as he left, leaving Nizu surprised. Nizu, it seems like they are serious. Returning to the infirmary, the two wounded were awakening peacefully. Bakugo, what the buck, why am I like this? Izuku, Bakugo, can you shut up? Bakugo turned around and furiously looked at who was at his side. Bakugo, Deku, what the hell are you doing here? Bakugo released a small explosion in his palm, but Bakugo, ahhhhh. Bakugo tried to move his body but saw how he was completely bandaged and with casts on parts of his body, and that everything that happened comes back to his head, all the blows that Izuku gave him. That infuriated Bakugo more. He was about to start insulting Izuku, but they hear how the door opens and Recovery, who upon seeing them just lets out a sigh and says, Recovery, the director wants you in his office. Izuku, go now, I will help young Bakugo get there. Izuku, not wanting to continue listening to Bakugo's screams, quickly gets up and leaves in the direction of Nizu's office, while Recovery helped Bakugo put him in a wheelchair. 20 minutes later, the two students were in front of Nizu, Aizawa, Present Mike, Midnight, and All Might. Izuku was a little nervous because although he doesn't remember much, he found out that he broke almost all of Bakugo's bones, but if you ask him, he didn't regret having done it. Bakugo didn't care why he saw All Might there, and he knew that if Nizu wanted to punish him, All Might would defend him. Nizu, well, I will tell you why you are here. Well, it will be to give a warning and a punishment to you. To start, the punishment will be for young Izuku. That tensed Izuku and put a smile on Bakugo and All Might's faces. Nizu, the penalty will be that your internship with the pro hero of your choice will be extended from 2 weeks to 4 so that they can teach you about self-control. Understood? Saying those words, the smile was removed from the faces of Bakugo and All Might, because Izuku would have more experience in the professional field and could surpass Bakugo by more. Izuku understood, director, he said in a respectful manner. Nizu, now the warning goes to young Bakugo. Saying that, All Might glared at Nizu as he thought the warning would also be for Izuku. Young Bakugo, and you'll be leaving my academy. Bakugo looked at All Might asking for help, and he was about to claim it from Nizu, but with just one look from the mouse, he was silent. Nizu understood. Bakugo, tskok. Nizu, now everyone can leave. I don't want any more problems. Understood. Everyone. Bakugo, All Might, HAI. Chapter 16, Choosing and Internships 1. After Nizu gave Izuku the punishment, and Bakugo the warning, they were about to leave when Nizu spoke. Nizu, by the way, I still have to give you this. He said that he would take 2 medals out of a drawer. Nizu, since you didn't wake up for the awards ceremony, I put them away, so take your medals. He said to give Izuku the first place and an angry Bakugo the second place. He was about to yell at him that he didn't want it, but with just one look from the director he shut up and received the medal. Izuku's POV. After receiving the medal, I retired and started heading home. Snarl. Izuku, I'm not going to endure hunger. I didn't have lunch today, I only ate 2 ganzitos, I'm already getting very hungry. Seller, ramen, come and try the best ramen in town. Thankful to the one above, I have enough to buy myself a ramen at least. Entering, I ordered a ramen with a double portion of noodles and went to wait for my order at a table. I calmly began to think about everything that happened today. Sigh. Izuku, what a busy day it was. Today was a day where I had many emotions besides ending up in the infirmary twice. I have to train and improve more. End of POV. At that, Izuku feels someone leaning on his head. He was about to get up and complain, but he hears. Looks like I found a broccoli with legs. Izuku, Rumi? He said to turn around and find Rumi and Ryuko in civilian clothes. Izuku, what are you doing here? Ryuko, we finished our paperwork and went out to eat and found you. Too much of a coincidence, right? The truth is that they were looking for a bar to have a few drinks to forget about the information that Nizu gave them, but they saw the green-haired boy and then decided to follow him out of curiosity. Izuku, well, what are you going to order? Rumi, waiter. Waiter, yes, what would you like? Rumi, bring me a pork ramen with double portion of noodles. Waiter, okay, and you? Ryuko, just something light for me, thanks. The waiter just wrote down the order and left, leaving the trio of friends. Rumi, so you came in first place at the festival? I asked with a smile from ear to ear. Izuku, if they gave me this. He said to get a gold medal? Ryuko, congratulations, by the way, the internships are coming soon, you already know who you're going with, so it seems you caught the attention of many heroes. Izuku, I would go with you, but your agency only accepts women, that will surely leave me with many options to choose from, and also the director gave me a punishment that he has to do with the internships. Rumi, what punishment did the rat give you? She said, a little annoyed, just like Ryuko. Izuku, well, it was because I broke almost all of Bakugo's bones. It was simply because my internship time was extended from 2 weeks to 4 weeks so that the hero I chose could teach me better. When he mentioned the ashen-haired boy, the girls got a little angry remembering the Muslim's words, but they immediately blushed when what Izuku said repeated in their heads. I will not tolerate you touching what is mine. Then both heroines thought. Did he like it? Izuku, girls, are you okay? They turned red. The two quickly recovered. Rumi, yes, don't worry. Ryuko, besides that, the director told you something else. Ryuko tried to change the conversation, which worked. Izuku, he just gave Bakugo one last warning that if he had one more complaint he would be expelled. That put a smile on the girls' faces. After that they continued talking. Waiter, here are your orders. He said to leave the dishes that looked appetizing. Then they began to eat quietly. When they finished they chatted a little longer, and when they were seeing that it was already getting dark, Izuku said goodbye to the girls. Paying for his food, he left the place and headed home. With the girls. Rumi, why didn't you tell him about the internship with us? Ryuko, I was just about to say it when he mentioned coming with us, so I want him to be surprised when he sees my invitation letter. Rumi, okay, I still want to drink, let's buy some beer and go home. Ryuko, I don't know why I have you in my house, you've practically invaded my house and my agency. Rumi, don't be a party pooper, your house is big and you have a lot of rooms, it doesn't bother you at all. Ryuko, sigh, since we are going. The two got up, paid for their food and headed home. The next day, we found ourselves in the classroom of Class B where Professor Blad King was talking about internships, something that Izuku already knew from Ryuko. Blad King, well, after telling you what it's going to be about, I'll leave you with the number of applications. 1. Izuku, 2501. 2. Kendo, 1853. 3. Ibara, 1755. 4. Tetsu, 1563. 5. Nito, 1406. 6. Aways, 1375. Imagine the others. If they say that the amount is small, remember that only heroes who have agencies can send requests. Blad King, okay, here are your requests. He said to take out several boxes, handing the largest one to Izuku, who as soon as he received it began to review the requests, but stopped when he saw a letter that stood out from the rest because it was red. When he grabbed it, he was surprised to see a seal in the shape of a golden dragon. Izuku laughs. Izuku let out a small laugh as he could see in a small corner of the dragon print a small white dot that, if you looked closely, had the shape of a rabbit footprint. Izuku, something tells me Ryuko doesn't know about this. He thought, amused. That's when Kendo, Nito, Tetsu and Aways approached. Tetsu, Izuku bro, have you already decided where to go? Nito, since you managed to beat the arrogant people of Class A, you have a lot of requests. Which one did you choose? Kendo, it must be hard to decide with so many requests. Izuku just smiled and said. Izuku, no, I already decided where to go. K/T/A/N, where to? Izuku simply lifted the letter revealing the seal, which left the boys with their mouths on the floor. Izuku, with the dragon heroine Ryukyu.
Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.